Come to Sam Ash for hundreds of exclusive holiday deals on music and sound gear from the most iconic brands. Save big on professional and starter guitars, drums, digital pianos, horns, violins, DJ, and electronic production equipment. Supercharge your home studio with deals on podcasting, streaming, and AV equipment like speakers, microphones, headphones, and acoustic treatment. Plus, with 36 months no-interest financing on thousands of items, you can get the gear of your dreams right now. From our incredible selection and service to our lowest price guarantee for over 95 years, real musicians know you only go to Sam Ash.
Bruce Arians here with your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. During these difficult times, it's important that we all show we care about our community's health. You could spread COVID-19 without knowing it. Wear a mask, wash your hands, keep your distance from each other, stay strong, and go Bucs.
Realizing my potential has been what my career has been all about. Things that I've dreamed about have actually come true.
And the Patriots have won Super Bowl 36. Unbelievable.
Things have happened in my life as I kind of hoped they would happen. It's been, just a complete evolution. How I just kept kind of fighting and clawing to continue to power forward. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you keep trying to make progress. So when I look at over 20 years, I look how far I've come. But there's not one step that I took where I realized, look how far I've come. But those series of steps that I put together, I go, wow, that's quite a journey.
You're now in the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition, a Monday evening edition of the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. And as we always start off the Sports Web, bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. 40 years of sports broadcasting experience. WTSP Channel 10, WFTS Channel 28. Talking about the Donovan Smith situation. What does he think about that? Ryan Jensen. All kinds of stuff from the Bucs and all kinds of stuff around the NFL. So we'll get to that. At 10 o'clock, we will have Brent Allen of the Pewtercast on with us talking Bucs. And at 10:30, we'll have our newest writer, Mr. Joshua Cole Allen. And, of course, best of the Bay himself, Mr. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. And then your phone call, 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. Happy Monday. And this segment is brought to you by, or the show is brought to you by Mellotronic.com for all your needs. If you need to purchase Bluetooth speakers, headphones, they're offering 40% right now if you go to their website and type in Bucs Report. Again, Bluetooth speakers and headphones. It's Mellotronic.com. Make sure you tell them that Bucs Report sent you. And if you type in Bucs Report, you get a 40% discount. So where can you go to get that? Mellotronic.com, because it sounds perfect. And speaking of sounding perfect, here's the man himself, the guy that is the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. How you doing on this Monday night?
Peter, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. A lot of controversy, though, over the weekend, and it started on Friday morning when Donovan Smith decided to post on his Instagram about his concerns playing in the NFL this year, saying risking my health as well as my family's health does not seem like a risk worth taking. He also kind of went into where he has a child in 3 weeks, his first one. They're going to get tested in 24 hours, so you really don't know. And he feels like the 35% escrow, which is what the NFL is trying to install with keeping money back from the players, well, he felt like he should have a pay raise due to the risk. So big time story is if Donovan Smith opts out, the Bucs could be without their blindside protection of Mr. Tom Brady. Your thoughts?
Well, when I heard it, I certainly, on one hand, understand what he's saying, and he has a baby coming, and obviously he's very much, thinking about his wife and his unborn child and that part of his life. And I certainly understand that. My biggest question is this something the Bucs, he had said to the Bucs months ago, back in March, back in February, I'm going to be having a baby and, right around camp time, I don't know how much time I might miss, one of those kind of things. And then as the process has continued on, has he kept them up to date on his feelings about this? And quite honestly, I do understand what he's saying in that, hey, they're asking us to take a 35% pay cut. We're putting our lives on the line, and we're putting our families' lives on the line. We shouldn't be getting a pay cut. We should be getting a raise. And I understand where he's coming from there. But the reality of the situation is, obviously, that there's a good chance the NFL season will be played without fans, and at least will be played in front of very few fans. So there will be revenue there that'll go out the window. And I see the NFL, just like Major League Baseball and the NHL and the NBA, trying to do whatever they can to get through this year and trying to see what will happen. Will camp, camp is supposed to start in a couple of weeks. Will camp really start? Will it be delayed? Will the start of the season be delayed from that September 13th opener at New Orleans? How much of the season will be played? And will that Super Bowl still come to be? And will it be in Tampa? So much talk right now about football. Will it happen? A month ago, I would have said, absolutely, this will happen. And I think it's probably a good 30% 70% chance that the NFL will happen. But everything else, I have no clue, especially in college football. So many big conferences have said they will, if they play, they will only play a conference schedule. And the door to a spring football season is still very much open, which has its own problems. But, I just see us living at a time when so many it depends on which problem you want to solve right now. It depends on the order. And if it means not having a football season, then having a football season in spring, which gives you time, which gives time for a possible vaccine, which gives time for everyone to figure out what's really going on and what you can do, will that be the case? I don't think that'll be the case for the NFL. I think the NFL somehow, some way, will find a way to get started in the fall. And how much of the season will happen, who knows? But as far as Donovan Smith is concerned, I certainly understand. But my main question is, has he been upfront with the Buccaneers about this for the last few weeks? And was he upfront about that on draft day? And yes, the Buccaneers have drafted Tristan Wirfs with their number one pick, the All-American out of Iowa, who has certainly played, the tackle position very well. and was a major reason, why the Buccaneers decided to take him in round one. The Buccaneer offensive line had to be improved. And quite honestly, I think if we go back and look at Donovan Smith, he needed to improve this season. So where all this stuff shakes out, who knows?
Do you think they would put Wolf at the left tackle spot, or do they leave him at right? Do they go after Jason Peters, who's kind of been bandied about with the Bucs because he's still playing at somewhat of a high level, but then again, Bucs don't have the salary cap. I guess my question is, do you think the NFL, if some of these players did opt out, the Bucs would get credit for that salary, and then in doing so, they would be able to sign a Jason Peters? Or if you're the Bucs, would you just go with what you have and a Wirfs on the right side or Wirfs on the left side, a Haig at right tackle, or possibly bringing back a DeMar Dotson at right tackle?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that what they have right now may not be enough. I would think they'd have to make some kind of move because this offensive line was not certainly the strong suit of the Buccaneers last year. When you look at all the pressure that Jameis Winston was under and all the sacks he took, and that certainly played into some of the 30 interceptions that he threw. So, and the running game was nowhere near what it had been in the past. And, they were looking on ways to improve that running game as well. So I think if Smith does not play, you have to find a replacement for him. And I'm sure that the Bucs have been looking at this for some time. Do they have some places where they can, trim on the salary cap in order to bring somebody in? They do have some places where they can do that. And, but to me, the one area where you don't want to mess with this football team right now is with the offensive line. And because that offensive line is really going to tell the story on just how successful this season is, because if Tom Brady is under duress, then that Buccaneer offense will be under duress. And that's not something they were planning for coming into this season.
Speaking of duress, which is what Shaq caused a lot of last year, it was reported on Friday that he is going to sign that franchise tender, but he's going to file a grievance against the Bucs because he wants to be paid as a defensive end and a linebacker. The difference is, of course, $2 million, $15 million as a linebacker. Defensive end is 17. What should the Bucs do in this case? Even though he's signing this franchise tender, should they pay him as a defensive end? Should they pay him as a linebacker, or should they come somewhere halfway?
Well, I'm sure this is a discussion that they have had, and Shaq Barrett's representation, I'm sure, had with the Bucs. Mm-hmm. And so if you're the Bucs and you can get him under a franchise tag for as cheap as you possibly can this year, you're going to do that. One way around that is to sign him to a long-term deal and sign it in a way to where you free up some cap room. That's not been the case yet. And I'm sure this is simply all negotiation. And if you're Shaq Barrett, remember, you're going from $4 million a year and maybe a job to to 4 times that. And you will have a very important job on this defense. So however that works out, they're in negotiation right now, and that's all this is negotiation. And if this is the biggest obstacle facing the Bucs coming into training camp, amen, that is something that you should be very happy with, and they'll find a way to make that thing work.
All right, let's go out to the webhead there, read some comments, and then we will get back to Ryan Jensen. Dion Miller says, yo, let's go. Best virtual edits video. Go Bucs. Stunton is stunning. I'm early for once. Always the first one on YouTube. Good stuff. Best virtual edits video. Yes, ask Johnny Dean. Plus, you started watching the Sports Web last week on YouTube. Thank you very much. That intro gets me hyped. Good stuff. Facts. Listen, I don't know. They streamed on YouTube. We do. Shaq will be on NFL Network tomorrow, so that'll be interesting. We'll get some sound from that. Shaq got robbed by Madden. True. He should have been 91 in Madden, but he's an 85. I know how you feel about video games, so I'm not going to even ask you, Al. What's his ratings? He's an 85. Deshaun Watson is an 86. Guys, you guys are talking Madden tonight. That's crazy. Devin White is a 78. I'm usually late, says Dylan. Shaq should be an 88 or 89. Godwin is an 87. What's up, Dylan? What's going on, Dylan? How you doing? Madden was off real bad this year. How is Godwin at 87 in Madden? Who knows? I would think so. Best virtual edits video. D. Smith just wants his security. It's not that hard. I get it. He wants his security, but I think what kind of rubbed me the wrong way was he was saying, yeah, we shouldn't take 35%. We should be taking a pay raise because of our health. I see a lot of people out there, Alan. I get it. Football and athletics is totally different from everybody else. But there's a lot of people out there right now who don't even have a job. And there's still people out there that are risking their life to go and work because they are essential and they're still getting paid the same fee.
Oh, absolutely. And there are people that have been asked to take pay cuts and were not furloughed, but still had to take a pay cut. And they've been brought back. But they weren't brought back at the same salary that they were making. They had to take a pay cut. So I think just about everybody in the workforce right now, if they haven't dealt with getting furloughed or being let go or anything like that, they've certainly had to deal with a smaller salary.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that. I understand that. And all this is part of the negotiating game, just like with Shaq Barrett. My biggest concern is, did Donovan Smith voice those concerns a month ago or a month and a half ago or 2 months ago? As this thing was getting crazier and crazier and crazier, did he give the Bucs a heads up saying, I'm not even sure if it's safe for me to come back for my wife and my soon-to-be born child. I'm not sure if this is a year that really works out for me personally. And I understand if he's saying that, but make sure you say that as early as possible so that you can give the team a heads up to where if they have to make a move, they can make a move.
Makes sense. It makes lots of sense. Let's see here. Nick Citro says, live, ask me anything with yours truly at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Bring your questions. Absolutely. I could go without Donovan Smith. He wasn't that good when he was with Winston. A lot of people making that joke. I get it. Smith is not the greatest left tackle, but if you have to go with the Jason Peters or somebody that's young at that point, you kind of get a little bit worried because not only are you cutting off reps and you're starting out late in training camp and you missed mini camp with a possible Tristan Wirfs, but also if you bring in somebody who doesn't necessarily know this system, it will take them a while. So remember, you have a 43-year-old quarterback in August who's going to be starting. You want everybody that knows this system and that you're depending on to be on this roster. And if they're not, I don't care if it's D. Smith or not, it's not a good start to the season. So I think people make a big deal about it because they're not Donovan Smith fans. But at the end of the day, who else are you going to get that's better than Smith? That's always been my question.
Well, the NFL, just about everybody in the NFL wants three things. One is a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
One is a guy that can rush the quarterback, and the other is a guy that can protect the quarterback. So just about everybody has one of those needs at protecting the quarterback. So coming in before the draft, one of the things that the Buccaneers thought they had was a fairly consistent offensive line as far as knowing who's coming back, and they just had to spend a number one pick on a offensive lineman to plug in.
Mm-hmm.
Now your left tackle is talking like he may not be back. And do you really want to take a rookie who's never played in the National Football League and put him on your 43-year-old's GOAT's blind side to play against the toughest competition in the world? That's a big, big if. So I again, that's why I voiced what I have voiced. I understand where he's coming from as far as trying to make sure his family is safe and secure. I get that. I understand that. That's something that so many first responders and nurses and doctors are having to deal with as well. My main point is, did you come clean with that months ago? Or are you just saying that now, 2 weeks before training camp, because you're looking to take advantage of a situation? And I don't think that's the case with Donovan Smith. But, now's not the time to speak up. A month and a half ago, and the Bucs could have made their decisions from there.
Yeah, and we're on with Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck, here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. All right, I don't have a problem with him opting out. It's for his and his family's help. It's not easy replacing any left tackle. I have no problem either. I'm just saying give the players some security. I'm sure if he does opt out, he likely will. The Bucs will find a way around it. I agree. Let's see. Hizudi is in the house. I don't know who that is. The Bucs decision with allowing fans in the stadium will be huge because we're hosting the Super Bowl, and Best Virtual Edits video said it first. Stunton is stunting. Petition to call the Super Bowl the COVID Bowl. I don't know if that's gonna. I don't think that's a good way to call it. I don't think you call the Super Bowl the COVID Bowl. Laugh out loud. We have $4.9 million in cap room. We still have to sign the draft picks. Ain't no way in hell we're signing Jason Peters. But there is a possibility, once again, I was pointing out, that if he does opt out, that possibly the Bucs could get some of that salary, just saying. Or making a move for that matter. Not at this point, of course. Stunting and stunning. Why they got to take a pay cut? Millionaires afraid of losing money. Exactly. Chris says, what do we think Shaq is asking for? Over $20 million per year. I mean, I really don't know what he's asking for. I know that he wants to be paid like a defensive end, and of course he wants to be paid the $17 million instead of the 15, of course. But I'm not sure where the common ground is with the Bucs on that. Let's see. I just don't see it.
Well, they have until what? Do they have until
July 15th?
They have 2 days.
Yeah,
to get everything signed.
Right.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how crucial it is for the Bucs. But if you're looking for some cap room, that's a way you can get cap room. Another way you could get cap room is, what do you do with Cameron Brate? There's some other moves that you can make that could pull that salary cap down a little bit. So, I mean, they have some possibilities. It's just that I don't think the Buccaneers back in April were thinking that one of their big priorities would be left tackle.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I just don't see us making any moves. Our cap room is non-existent. Best Virtual Edits Video Shack wants the Brinks, Chris. $24 million. I don't think he wants $24 million. I don't know about that. The Ryan Jensen segment coming up is sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings. Eat at your own risk. Chris, he's wanting $17 million. Jensen and the chicken wings fiasco coming up. Stay tuned. We're definitely going to play that. What happened with Jensen and the chicken wings, we'll explain. Definitely got a question. Drop it here. And of course, we'll open up with the phone line in just a little bit. Ron says, Peter and Al, two of the best of all time, hands down. He's one of the best of all time. I don't know if I'm the best of all time. That guy's got 40 years on me. So, but thank you. I appreciate that, Ron. Jason Peters is a vet. Slide him in. Dylan says, Smith is an average left tackle. Honestly, he was right in the middle last year with improved play. Plus, he knows the system. If he opts out, that's a big blow. Chris says, the highest outside linebacker is paid $23.5 million. My guess is he wants that amount or more. Chris Green giving away a dozen with the purchase of a dozen this Friday. Best Virtual, did you listen to Jared's album? I think it's less about money with Shaq, but more about the years. And of course, he doesn't want to go on a one-year deal. Nobody does. Alkek looks like Yarmil Yarder's dad. New York cases have decreased daily, and Florida has increased, and also California, according to Gavin Newsom, the governor there, has closed down once again. So they are closed. That might be a big deal because there has to be games played in California. So right now they're back to being shut down. To be fair, a month ago, Smith didn't know what the protocols would be. That's a fair point. David Moser. My wife works at one of the amusement parks. She is one of the people that takes your temperatures so you can go into the park. She has to be around almost every person that comes in the park, and they don't give her any hazard pay. People that work at gas stations, grocery stores, they don't get hazard pay. Like I said, the other night seems to me if he gets hazard pay, he will play, but if not, he's worried about his family, which again is fair. Stunting is stunning. I'm sure the god of Bruce Arians will find a way. Michael says, or excuse me, Michael, with the addition of Brady and Gronk, you think that's enough to get up to the Super Bowl within the next 2 years? It should be. I mean, with everything that's happening off the field, you don't know, but you look at the offensive weapons and what they did defensively and everything they did in the draft, you would have to think, in my opinion, that this team is a Super Bowl contender. Right?
Well, if they play the way we expect them to play,
right.
But then again, we didn't expect this defense to play as poorly as it did at the beginning of the season.
True.
And we're still asking an extremely young secondary to play up to a very high level. And you're asking a lot of veterans on that defense up front to have another huge year when, quite honestly, they have they have a little bit of tread on the tires. Now, that doesn't mean that Ndamukong Suh and Vita Vea, who is still fairly young, but JPP, it doesn't mean that they can't play a very high level. It's just that so many people are just assuming that this defense is going to play well like it did the majority late last season. And we don't know if they can do that for an entire season. We just don't.
I think that's fair. And I think that in order to keep the pressure off of that young secondary, you have to get a consistent pass rush. And if JPP is there for a full year, then I think the Bucs have an advantage. But once again, like you said, we've seen these expectations before, namely going back to 2017. Let's not go into that again because that was a disaster in itself. It's a shame people hate him. Any BA haters are salty about Winston. Rob says Al Keck is the king of sports here in Tampa Bay. Crew for life. Appreciate you, Rob. Wear a mask, guys. Best virtual edits video. I'm here in the state of Florida. Maybe canceling fall sports for high school. FHSAA. Is Godwin better than Evans? I'm not sure about that. I hear saying everyday folks still go to work, but if the NFL comes back and it will be the only show in town, they would make so much off of advertising and merchandise. Live sports with no competition means the NFL would be printing money, says Kristen. Good stuff. Too early to tell. Best virtual edits video. I'll take Godwin if we're picking, though. I'll start a franchise with Godwin. Devin White is the second most underrated player in the league. First player is Levante. Dylan says Evans and Godwin have different strengths, but I wouldn't say Godwin yet. Mike is doing stuff only Randy Moss has done. And I would start a franchise with Mike over Godwin. How do you feel about that? Good problem to have for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Evans, with his 6 straight 1,000-yard seasons, being the only player since Randy Moss to do that, or Chris Godwin?
Well, they're two completely different type of receivers. Mike Evans is a big play waiting to happen. So physical, so big, so athletic. He actually was a much better basketball player in high school than he was football. And he thought basketball was going to be his game. But once he got to Texas A&M, obviously, and playing with Johnny Football, his football stock really rose. Now, as for Chris Godwin, he's a guy that is still plenty athletic. I think is a little more consistent as far as catching the football is concerned, but doesn't have the big play ability of Mike Evans. Now, that's not a knock on Chris Godwin. It's just that Evans is so much better than just about anybody else that just about anybody pales in comparison to Mike Evans. So as far as the ability to make a big play. But as we saw throughout last year, Chris Godwin can find the end zone, and Chris Godwin can make big catches, and Chris Godwin can make plays. So very interesting. Randy Moss was talking about it was talking about Tom Brady, and Tom Brady had talked about a game that they had when Moss was still in New England, and it was a game where Brady went wild and Moss went wild, had 4 touchdown catches in the first half. And Brady was talking about that and kind of, sent it out there to Randy Moss. Hey, listen, I got a spot here for you. Come join us. You can play for us, and we'd be excited to have you. And Randy Moss said, I'm not sure I can make that receiving core.
Wow.
That's a really good receiving core. And when you think about Randy Moss and what he was like as a player and how he was not bashful to brag about what he could do on the field, for him to say that, I think is pretty telling as far as understanding what the Buccaneers have in this receiving core.
We always kind of debate about receivers, and I got into a debate with somebody off the air one day, and they said, if you had a chance to throw the pass to a wide receiver, who would you throw it to? I said Jerry Rice all day long, and the guy said Randy Moss. In your opinion, is Rice more dependable than Randy Moss, and why would you pick? Who would you pick?
Rice is more dependable than Randy Moss, but Moss, I think, has a chance to turn it into a bigger play than Jerry Rice, and that's saying something. Now, Jerry Rice obviously has incredible hands, okay? And Jerry Rice, nobody worked harder than Jerry Rice physically or in learning what he needed to do to be the best possible receiver that he could be. And not just the best possible receiver that could be. I think, in the top 3 of greatest football players of all time, I think you'd have to include Jerry Rice. But I think if you had one game and you needed big plays and you needed a presence of a home run threat on your offense, I'd seriously look at Randy Moss, because I just seen so many games that he played to where no one could cover him. No one could even come close. And he was so physically gifted. And if he was tuned into the game and was determined to be a part of it, he was almost impossible to control. And so, but then again, it's like, what's your favorite finger? This index finger or this index finger? They're both pretty crucial.
Well, for me, what you just said kind of is that that's the reason why I picked Jerry Rice in the first place, because when he wanted to play, and these are his own words, when he wants to play, he could take over. But there were times where Randy Moss did whatever Randy Moss wanted to do. If I go on a quick slant to Jerry Rice, I know he's taking it to the house. So for me, I'll take Jerry Rice all day long. 2 days on Sunday, whatever. I would definitely take him. But you're exactly right. Moss was a beast, and he was a zone buster. And when he was locked in, which he was at that time with Brady and the Patriots in that 2007 year, man, he was unstoppable. That was the 50 touchdown year by Brady. Tell you what, let's go out to these highlights from Ryan Jensen. I'll go ahead and set the stage here, Al Keck. Lane Johnson had a offensive line summit out in Dallas, Texas. Keep in mind, the COVID cases have been going up there also. And Ryan Jensen was a part of this. In fact, he won the wing eating contest. Now, I'm going to ask you before, and then I'm going to show you the video. Do you have a problem with it, first and foremost, with Ryan Jensen going to a summit and taking participating in a wing eating contest?
Well, right now, I have a problem with anybody traveling. I'm trying to answer those questions myself. I have an elderly mom out west, and she needs help on some things. I'm trying to justify taking a plane trip out there and spending time with her and helping her. But the thought of going through airports and being on a plane and then walking into her house is just too scary for me. Now, as far as Ryan Jensen is concerned, he's going to something that I'm sure is going to help him work-wise, and that I understand. But when at least the video I have seen is a lot of big guys eating wings with a lot of snorting and breathing and all that kind of stuff going on. There's got to be spitballs flying out there and eating hot wings. Is that smart for someone less than a month away of training camp? That may not be the most intelligent move there.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to put you in the lobby here. I'm going to have the fans judge for themselves. Is this a smart move? Do you see masks by any of these players? Do you see social distancing going on? Because if you do, let me know. Enjoy this here. Remember, just keep in mind, he's in Dallas, Texas during a wing eating contest. And this is the starting center of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who, by the way, always has to put his hands on the ball to hike it to Tom Brady. Just saying. Enjoy this, okay? Here we go.
That's light work. Come on, you good? That's light work.
All right, welcome back to the Sports Web. Do you see any social distancing there? I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. And you know what? You feel any differently? Because I feel worse about that. Because once again, here's a state where all the cases are spiking. I get it. Everybody wants to have a good time. But at the end of the day, what was the explanation? And we'll get to that other point in a moment. That's Brian Baldinger. He said that, yeah, they were practicing social distancing and doing all the protocols they needed to do to be safe. But to me, it just looks like a regular wing eating contest where a lot of those players have the opportunity to get COVID-19. Just saying.
Well, one guy wearing a mask, and in a state to where it's going as crazy as it is here. And I mean, as scary as that can be, looking at that and knowing what's going on in Texas, just the thought of getting off a plane in that Dallas airport and knowing that you've got training camp coming up, and you're knowing that, how your play is going to be extremely important as to how this team, delivers on each and every Sunday. Can this guy afford to get COVID-19? And can the Bucs afford for him to get COVID-19? It's just a matter of being smarter,
Yeah.
And these people that, I got what Milo Jackson saying, don't be a COVID Karen now, you're on the thing, shove it, because I know enough people that have gotten sick and have gone, even though that, they have made it through, they did not die. You talk to them, and to a person, they will tell you that's as sick as they've ever been. And I saw something on CNN the other day where they had a camera in a hospital room, and where they took the ventilator out of the guy's chest, and the goop that was on that ventilator that came out of this guy's lungs, because of this thing, that it's incredibly dangerous. And if you don't take this thing seriously, I don't care if you do it for yourself, but there are too many other people. We're getting 12 to 15,000 people a day in the state of Florida that are getting this. And I don't want to get it. I really don't. I don't want my kids to get it. I don't want my elderly mom to get it. People really need to take this seriously. And that's not being COVID Karen. That's called having something when it comes to intelligence.
And one unnamed NFL observer said if they will risk it for eating chicken wings, why not risk it for $15 million a year? Right or wrong, most of the NFL players don't care about coronavirus. Watch what they do, not what they say. Now, Brian Baldinger, to go over the other side, said that this was safe and everything like this. In fact, I'm going to put you back in the lobby here. We're going to hear from Brian Baldinger on how they took precautions during this summit. Okay.
Okay.
Stand by. So we'll go to Brian Baldinger here, of course, of the NFL Network, and he was a part of this. And you judge for yourself, once again, going back to that video. But here we go.
Okay, Brian, we're ready to read and have a seat. I'm with Dr. Bob here at the offensive line mastermind camp. We've all been pretty cautious here with masks, but we've also been getting tested. Robert, tell us about what kind of test we're going to do right now.
We're doing the PCR test. It is a nasal swab. Here is the exact swab we'll be using. Mr. Balding has agreed that HIPAA compliant, but he's going to tell everybody. We're going to go in each nostril for 10 seconds, do a swab, go there. It's a lovely experience.
Yabby dabby do.
Relax, please. You cough, sneeze. Not pleasant. We twirl. Breathe out of your mouth, please.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Here we go, second
All right,
nostril.
let's go. Yabba dabba do.
We'll be doing this at every training camp that you go to, Brian.
Yeah.
We'll be testing you, making sure you're safe for your mother as well as the player.
Oh, she's so bad.
Go ahead and sneeze. Vin, thank you very much. And Shreg, I'm coming after you.
Okay. Not too bad. Nothing to be afraid of, nothing to be fearful of. And Robert, you've been able to get these test results back almost within 24 hours, correct?
Yes, we got a great lab that does it for us. We're going to make sure everybody's safe. Thank you very much.
And that's the testing that's going on, and hopefully around the league this year, trying to keep the players safe, trying to find out, who's got the virus and who doesn't, and try and keep it that way. I think I just wanted to be like the guinea pig here today, but I've been tested now 6 different times. I've been finger pricked, I've been nose swabbed, and I've been blood tested. We're trying to stay ahead and being proactive, and just want to do that out there for all the audience that the NFL is serious about the testing, the way that we do it, and I think all Americans and the rest of the world should too. All right, back to the offensive line mastermind camp right here, doing some instruction over there with about 50 of the best offensive linemen in the NFL.
Welcome back to the Sports Web. Now, here's my thing. Even with all the testing, he goes to the crowd there. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Maybe I'm being a negative Nancy here, but the social distancing protocol, you have to be 6 feet apart. There's 50 people in there together, and most of them are not wearing a mask. So once again, it really doesn't matter if you test all day long. I don't know. I don't know what to say, but I don't feel better. I don't feel about it because it looks to me like they just don't care.
Well, here's my question, and Brian, and for anyone that thinks that's a comfortable test, you're
right.
Crazy.
Right.
You're absolutely crazy. And Brian said that they'll have the results back in 24 hours. Okay. Think about all the people he can come in contact with in 24 hours. Where, he had the results from a test 24 hours ago, but now 24 hours forward, that doesn't mean that you haven't been exposed, okay? And when he gets on the plane to go back home, and you're in an airport, and you're in a plane, and you're in an airport when you land, that doesn't mean that you don't catch it there, because I'm pretty sure that the day that you get back, you're not going to be tested again. So, again, you're rolling the dice on something that's really, really serious. Now, maybe it's something that they feel is extremely important for their career and for their work, that this is something that they need to do, and they're taking whatever protocols, they're taking whatever things that you need to do in order to make this happen, in order to be there safely. Well, if it's that important, then God love you. Do what you're going to do.
Right.
But unless you are tested every single day, and you're basically in a bubble. Look at everything that the NBA is going through in order to keep, their people healthy. And again, the NBA have, athletes that are some of the, most highly trained and physically in shape individuals in the world. And they're going through all this to make sure that, they're safe and they don't get it and they don't spread it around to an entire team or to a coaching staff or to a training staff or to somebody on another team and all of that. So it's a matter of common sense. And, I've seen that test several times. Doesn't look like a fun experience.
No, I mean, tested itself. I mean, if that's not going to want you to wear a mask, then I don't know what's going to make you wear a mask. And let's go out to the web heads here. Keck is a national treasure, plain and simple, says Ben Cornett there, trolling.
Oh, Ben Cornett.
Yes, I'm 100% positive Bruce Arians would have talked Luck out of retirement to play for the Bucs. Thoughts? I don't know anything about that. Right now, it's Brady for 2 years, and that's it. Jameis Winston is the worst leader in Bucs history. He tries too hard to motivate, but fails miserably. See this W, we're going to eat it. Eat the W. Tristan says Godwin equals Mike Williams. I think Godwin's a little bit better than Mike Williams. Anyways, you'll hear about Naya Rivera found her body this morning. Such a tragedy. Absolutely. Of course, she was related to Mikael Rivera, who used to be a tight end for the Oakland Raiders, now the Vegas Raiders. She was on Glee, so they did find her body. So God bless her, or God bless their family. How's it going, Josh? David says, I take Rice over Moss any day. Randy Moss wasn't a great route runner unless you were going deep. Josh says, great man, ramping up for Wednesday show. Going to have a great giveaway. Tune in early. We read that comment there. Milo, I hope you feel differently about what we just talked about. Football players can't tackle if they're social distancing, Peter. We'll get to that in a moment. All right. Yes, sir. That's my center. Peter doesn't know. Okay. That's my center again. Lack of mask and social distancing there. Let's see, Chris. One person wearing a mask, bad judgment here, in my opinion. Florida's worse than Texas. Don't want to get political here. Jensen has sleep apnea. I'm sure if that's on the list of more at risk, then it's just not good judgment here. Laugh out loud. Ben says, just a lack of common sense by Jensen and the rest of those guys in that video. Facts. Even the haters tune into the sports web. They do. No, why is he putting his mask down? I understand he's making it so he can speak more clearly, but don't touch it while you're in public. Use hand sanitizer, then adjust your mask. Come on, man. Let's see here. They should have tested the day before at least. So did each person isolate after the test while they await the results? Correct, 2 days. That's an interesting question. Also, I say there's likely a chance that whenever you're in an airport, at least one person has been exposed to COVID-19. I feel like that is a safe bet to take. Susan says, as Bruce Arians has said, the players, they're going to all get it. They're going to get sick. That's for sure. It's just a matter of how sick they get. They aren't going to be able to socially distance and play football. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, we know what football is.
Right.
It's not hard to figure out what football is.
Sure.
And if there is a virus that is airborne and it can go into one's mouth or one's nose and be transferred that way, it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen. And not just players on the team, but again, the coaches. And you take Bruce Arians, who's a 3-time cancer survivor. He's in his late 60s. He is the classic case of a person that should not be exposed to this because it is difficult for people of that age and people of that medical background to come back from this. So that's just the chances that they're willing to take. And you talk to those guys in the National Football League and say, you can get a paycheck this year or you can't. What's your call? And so they're all going to lean towards getting the paycheck and playing, which a lot of us would certainly understand. But people would understand the other way as long as we had a bunch of money in the bank and we weren't depending on this year's money to make sure we could pay that electric bill. And it's a tough situation to be in. So what do you do with all that being said? You're as smart and as safe as you can possibly be. And I'm just not sure that going to that offensive lineman camp in Dallas, where you do have to get on it's one thing if you're driving your own car there, and maybe he did.
Right.
Maybe he did. I've thought about going to visit my son up in Chicago. And, I haven't seen my son for months. I want to see my son. Okay. But it's not smart to fly into any airport or to go to any airport to go. So, I've thought about driving up to see him. So, it's all about being smart.
Absolutely. Also, according to Pro Football Talk and ESPN, they revealed an Oakley mouth shield, which will be, of course, on the helmet. According to Tim McManus of ESPN, Oakley designed it. It's also designed by doctors and engineers of the NFL and NFL Players Association. It's a Oakley prism lens technology. Skiers and military personnel have used it. And also, it basically is a guard that's made up of plastic sheets that extend down to attach to the face guard. It also has airways and openings, visibility and breathability. Also highly successful in obstructing the transmission of droplets. And they've only tested it on a few players. We have 2,500 players in the league, but I was surprised that claustrophobia has not been an issue yet, says NFL Players Association Medical Director Tom Meyer. I think it will be when we have more players testing it. And this kind of follows up what J.J. Watt said last week on the PFTPM podcast. My second year in the league, I thought it would be cool. I put a visor on my helmet. I was like, it looks so cool. I want to put a visor on. I had it for almost 3 periods of practice, and I said, take this sucker off. I'm going to die out here. So now you're going to put something around my mouth, and you can keep that. If that comes into play, I don't think I'm going to see myself on the field. So the NFL is trying to get more safer with it, but there could be players that even then, just with the situation, but also with the face mask that could, basically opt out. I think the NFL is trying to come to, I just don't know how this all works because there's so many moving parts at this point, Al, and there's so many players that seem like even with what the NFL is trying to do, not exchange jerseys at the end of the game, it seems to be coming with a lot of criticism and a lot of pessimism.
Well, it's something that, there just aren't a couple of different ways that you have to prepare for this season and keeping people safe. You have to think of everything. Mm-hmm. And so if there's ever an area to where a football player is extremely picky about, it's the helmet. So if you're asking someone to also put a visor inside that goes basically down past your chin or your jaw, there are going to be a lot of people that are not going to be willing to do that or feel extremely uncomfortable doing that. And football is not a game that you can play to where you're only kind of comfortable. You have to be able to sell out, and you can't be thinking about how you can't really breathe the way you want because of some visor that's on. So I understand. And this is all something. This is an advantage for the National Football League as opposed to baseball and hockey and basketball, in that, they're having discussions about all this and they're dealing with all this. We're about 2 weeks away from camp, and the National Football League will somehow, some way find answers to as many of these questions as they can, but they're not going to be completely safe. Players aren't, because of the nature of the game. NASCAR, you can be safe driving a sports car or driving a stock car. You can be safe playing golf, and in some ways you can be safe playing baseball. Okay. But basketball and football, you're not going to be safe. You're just not. No. And so what do you do to make it as safe as you possibly can and still get a season in? Because I do believe I think you're going to see seasons from the National Football League and from the SEC. And the SEC may be tougher. And it may be in spring, or it may be maybe a split season. Maybe, who knows? But I do think that the NFL is determined enough to make this thing happen. And if you're the Glazers and you've been pointing to a season like this, and you've made some moves to make sure you have a season, at least 2 seasons with the greatest of all time at quarterback, you don't want to see anything derail that. And they'll do whatever they can. The National Football League is going to do whatever it can to have a season. If they can't have a season, then there's absolutely no way anybody could have had a season.
Yeah, I agree. But Nate Solder, the offensive tackle for the Giants, doesn't necessarily agree with you. In fact, he tweeted out the other day on Friday, if the NFL doesn't do their part to keep players healthy, there is no football in 2020. It's just that simple. And with people asking about if the players feel like they would go on strike, they wouldn't. Basically, according to Pro Football Talk, the union would file an expedited grievance challenging the overall safety of the workplace. This would happen if both sides couldn't work out a deal. So, I mean, there again, I've heard other things from players. You've heard players say they would opt out. The safety of the situation, you mentioned the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. According to Greg Auman of The Athletic, Bucs Stadium in line for upgrades of $10 million that would go to upgrading Bucs Stadium to limit COVID-19, $350,000 for seat bottom removal to ensure attendees maintain social distancing in the seating bowl, and they cannot sit in certain seats. So the Bucs taking definitely precautions on it. Like he said, they don't want anything to derail this season. There's other teams around the NFL. Baltimore said 14,000. The Jaguars have also put on a number like a third of their fans can't show up. So a lot of teams are anticipating that there are going to be some fans, just maybe not as many. And then you have players like Nate Solder, who basically are saying for the Players Association, if it's not safe, there's going to be no football in 2020. Like he said to me, that's the conundrum here, Al. It's never going to be safe. It's not going to be safe in 2020 for these players.
Well, here's the other thing for the players and for the union. The NFL union, Players Association, has to be very careful about what they say. Because believe me, I can guarantee you, and the Glazers are not one of these owners, but I'm sure there are owners in the National Football League that would rather just not play a season, that those losses and just eating the season would be less than trying to play part of a season, everything else that goes with doing that and preparing for that.
Yeah.
And what they don't want to do, what the NFL Players Association doesn't want to do, is get to the point to where their players strike or walk out or refuse to go or refuse to play or whatever, because that's going to take their current bargaining agreement and throw it right out the window. And even though they have another bargaining agreement coming up here in a couple of years, believe me, the owners would take that to heart, and all the gains that the NFL players have made over the years with more guaranteed money, with only so many practices a week in which you can hit, all the gains that they've made, those go out the window. And all this stuff is starting again from square one with ownership that now says, okay, we did everything we could to make things as safe as possible, but now you're walking out and not playing? Okay. Just wait until you start negotiating this new deal. And that would be a total mess for the players in the National Football League.
On that note, we're going to let you go here. Of course, the Al Keck Show tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Go ahead and promote yourself here on Bucs Report.
Oh, we got a great show. I will say this will be my favorite show that I've done. This will be my second one, but I think it'll be even better than the first one. But we will have Reggie Roundtree, who, of course, was a longtime maker at Channel 10. And we covered a lot of things together. We'll talk to him about all this stuff. My son Kyle, who will cover the National Football League and talk about some of the latest things going on, from the Redskins nickname to some of the other things going on. And then I've got Brad Davis, who was my photographer for 10 years at Channel 28. And we were joined at the hip a lot, going to cover sporting events. And we'll tell war stories. And we'll get some war stories about covering the likes of Warren Sapp and, all the Buccaneers that everyone knows about now, and some great stories. And he's hilarious. And he's worth I could do a whole show just with Brad. So it'll be fun. And I think it'll be an hour that'll be entertaining and also very informative.
Absolutely. And we'll definitely take questions tomorrow night, because I will have a mic. I'll be taking those questions, asking you, being your producer here, which is so much fun, because I tell you right now, you get a different perspective when you're behind the scenes. You kind of forget that, but I kind of like it. Thanks a lot, Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. I know he hates when I say it, but I got to do it. 40 years of sports broadcasting experience, WTSP Channel 10, WFTS Channel 28. Thanks a lot for coming on The Evolution, all right?
All right. Thanks for having me. We'll see you tomorrow night.
See you tomorrow night. There you go, Mr. Al Keck. Once again, just remember, he will be live with the Al Keck Show at 9 o'clock here exclusively on Bucs Report. So let's go out to our other guest here of the night. That would be Mr. Brent Allen of the Pewtercast. Welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend. How you doing tonight?
Doing good, Peter. How about yourself, my friend?
Doing great, and trying to be as positive as I can be. But then again, you have all these reports coming out of spikes of COVID-19 in other states. California closes down today. So trying to keep it as positive as possible. But there was some controversy to kind of start out with, and it started on Friday morning with Donovan Smith and his comments. Yeah. What was your take on his comments? And do you agree? Do you disagree? Or are you somewhere in the middle?
Well, I think Donovan's comments were directed, honestly, about one thing, and it was about that 35% escrow that the NFL was trying to take away. He was making the appeal of, look, I've got a kid coming. I don't really know if this is worth it. That to me, as I read it, was all side note to, and you want to take 35%. I didn't interpret it as a lot of people have, as I'm not going to play. Yes, he said the words, I'm not sure if it's worth it, but he was making that in the context of taking that 35% away. I personally agree with him on that term. The idea that they would take 35% at billionaires and stuff it in an escrow account just in case they don't make money this year.
Yeah.
So they could, are you kidding me? No, you don't do that. You agreed to pay this man's wage, whether you thought it was worth it or not, whether Bucs fans thinks it's worth it or not. That's the same thing that's true for all, 1,600 guys across the league. You pay them what you say you're going to pay them if they're going to go out and play. And the rest of that's on you. That's part of the risk you take when you're a business owner. And you can't put that back on your employees, especially not when we're talking about a league that, what was it, Peter, 2 years ago found an extra $8 billion in television revenue and gave every team $300 million or $200 million, and it covered their salary cap for the year just in a bonus? No. And that's what I think Donovan Smith was all huffy puffy about. I don't think he's not talking about not playing. You think he might be? I mean, that might come down to it, but
do you think there's a possibility he could opt out? And if he does, do you believe the Bucs will have a plan? Would you? And if you're the general manager of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, are you shifting Tristan Wirfs to the left side because he played some of it in college? Are you keeping him at right side? Are you playing Joe Haig on one of those sides, maybe the right side? Do you put Tristan Wirfs on the left side? Do you go after Jason Peters? Because the NFL allows them to have that salary, then you'd be able to take that salary, go out and get a Jason Peters who's still playing at a pretty good level. You put him on the left side as a veteran to protect Brady's blind side. You put Wirfs at the right side. What would you do if you're Jason Light and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Well, let's go back and talk about, do I think Donovan's going to opt out, and what do I start doing as a GM or even the head coach? Mm-hmm. And I think, yes, there's absolutely the possibility that he could opt out, but I promise you this, or at least I don't think so. Donovan's not going to be the first one. Donovan will opt out or might opt out, but other players across the it'll be a much bigger situation for players across the NFL if they decide to opt out. And you might even possibly, maybe it occurs to me, I don't know, I don't have a crystal ball. They could show up for training camp, get a couple of weeks into it, maybe a week or two into the season, and just be like, yo, this isn't worth it anymore, and step away. And that creates a whole thing, because you say, hey, we go out and get Jason Peters, or we go do this. Yeah, that's assuming he hasn't opted out. And that's assuming that other left tackles in the league haven't opted out and they've already gotten him. So that's a much bigger bigger issue. And BA is smart enough. Jason Light is smart enough. They already have contingency plans for what do we do if these things, or at least they're working on them. Now, as far as what do you do, I think the first thing you got to do is you got to say, who can we do in-house? Because we might not be able to get someone else. So what's the depth chart? I think that's really what it comes down to. What is the depth chart at left tackle? And it's Donovan Smith, maybe Tristan Wirfs, but he's unproven. So you got to pencil it in and see what it does in camp, right? But I think, to me, I'm going to keep Tristan on the right side as we've kind of inked it in. And now we're looking at that Joe Haig. Who else do we have back there? That depth chart is Brad Seaton's not around anymore, is he?
Josh Wells. You've got Josh Wells, the great.
Oh, Josh Wells. Why? But he was an interior guy, wasn't he?
I thought he was. Well, I thought no. He's out.
He was out. Yeah. So probably that's probably where I'm sticking. Josh Wells. He's got a little bit more experience in the league. I'm penciling him in at left. I'm gonna keep Tristan at right. But you got to test it out in camp and see what happens.
Did you watch him last year versus Carolina? I mean, that was the game where. What did they give up? 7 sacks, and they had the greatness of Earl Watford at right guard and Josh Wells on the right tackle. I can't imagine that going on. Like the NFL has, if Donovan Smith or any player in the NFL would have to opt out, I believe they would have to give credit for that salary. I'm just saying. I mean, what could you say at that point? I mean, basically you're losing and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you look at the comments, and I understand where Smith is coming from, because he does have his first child in 3 weeks. So you don't want to infect the family. It's definitely important. But then again, I kind of go back to what Al Keck said, the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend. Did he let the Bucs know about this plan? Do they know? Do they have a plan B? Or is, like you said, possibly some negotiating tactics by Smith?
Yeah, like I said, my feeling of it, and again, I'm not in the building. I don't know. Yeah. I have sources. I actually haven't asked them. Anyway, my feeling is this was a statement by Donovan of saying, leave my effing money alone. Like, I get the feeling he's planning on playing. I get the feeling he's not planning on opting out, but don't take 35% of my salary is what he's trying to say. That's my feeling on the whole situation. So no, I don't think he had some conversation with the organization. Donovan's sitting on a beach somewhere. Or he's on his back deck in his pool or something, and got his feet kicked up, and probably had a conversation with his wife. Or did he just get married? With his girl anyway? Probably just had a conversation, and had some feelings about it and dropped it out on social media. That's how I think it went down. Like I said, I go back to, I don't think Smith is planning on opting out, but if they force his hand, i.e. they want to take 35%, which I hear that's off the table. The NFLPA and the NFL have come back and, or at least the NFLPA has put a counter proposal in, which the first line was no 35%.
Thank God. I mean, they learn from the owners in Major League Baseball, Brett. I mean, what are you talking about? What are you doing? Apply what you know. Why in the world would you think about taking money from somebody when you've got a situation where you can't even basically tell every player that they're going to be safe in this situation? That's why I kind of laugh when people say, well, it's going to be safe. Well, safe enough, but really, how safe is it? You talk about money issues here with Shaq Barrett. We're on with Brent Allen on the Pewtercast here, live on the evolution of sports talk television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. He signed his franchise tender, but now he wants to file a grievance versus the Bucs. Does he have a case in this point?
Yeah, absolutely he does. Will he win? I don't know. But this is one of those like they designated him on a certain tag, and they looked at each other and said, we're going to file a grievance against that. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. See if you get it. Like, this is just the game that they're playing. I mean, this is the craziness about it. He should file it. It's a $2 million claim. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
The Bucs can find $2 million in their salary cap to fix it if they need to. It's not that big of a deal to them. I just why they continue to play these games back and forth, I'll never understand. But I do think that this mostly goes to show that the league needs a complete revamp when we start talking about that defensive end / outside linebacker position, and how they name them, not for situations like this, absolutely, but also for situations like the Pro Bowl, which now affects the 5th year option in the new CBA.
Wow.
Which we had a whole episode about that on our show. That means a ton for what we're now expecting out of Tristan Wirfs and Vita Vea. I don't think it's going to affect OJ or Devin White. It's going to affect those guys for what we're expecting out of them and what that can mean to our salary cap as we start looking at it, populating the rest of the team. So it could be an issue, and that position needs a revamp, at least as naming nomenclature.
19 and a half sacks, 58 tackles, 1 interception. He was a beast. Do you think with the negotiating that it kind of affects their relationship? Because remember, they signed him to a 1-year contract. They gave him an opportunity, but with all this wrangling back and forth, do you think there's going to be some hurt feelings by Barrett or the Bucs? And do you think this affects the situation going forward for a long-term deal?
Yeah, I think this is where agents really do their job and earn their money. And this is why, like, you hear players say, like, don't worry about that. I'll let the agents deal with it. They just put it in front of me and they'll eventually sign it, whatever they do. There could be. It's possible. I don't think so. This is it's Rosenhaus, I think, is his agent.
Oh.
Rosenhaus is a beast and is going to get Shaq like the biggest contract in the history of the world, at least that he could possibly get. And it's going to happen. Look what he got Quan Alexander. Like, oh my God. And so many other people. So listen, Shaq's going to get paid. It's going to be with the Bucs. They're just having to work it out. And, they'll go forward with whatever they need to do.
I'll tell you what, let's go out to the webheads here. And of course, open phone line 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with our guest tonight of the Pewtercast, Mr. Brent Allen. Of course, his co-host has been on the Sports Web time and time again. He definitely needs to come on sometime. That would be Mr. Ren Dax. We'll get you guys on sometime again here. He also said mask up and practice social distancing. And Coach Arians, going back to those comments, did that kind of raise your eyebrows a little bit with him saying, players are going to get sick. Mostly everybody's going to get sick. It just depends on how sick they get. Is that an honest assessment by Coach Arians?
I think that's true of society in general. Now, that's a personal opinion, right? But I think most people are going to catch it at one point or another, like we all. And I'm sorry, I'm not saying COVID is the flu. I'm not the person who says that.
Right.
But we all catch the flu. It depends on how severe it is. I think at some point, this is one of those things. We are all going to get it on some level or another. And it just depends on how bad it's going to be, what your personal immune system is, how it attacks you, what your makeup is. Hopefully we can mitigate that enough to where the hospitals aren't overwhelmed, that they can take care of people who need to be taken care of. Shout out to all the frontline workers that are helping make that happen. And then hopefully that also we have enough time to learn about this disease and be able to develop treatments and medications and eventually hopefully even a vaccine to make that go. But, I don't think Coach is too far off base with that. I don't know. And here's the other thing. I'm from Kentucky, right? And this is, I'm from a place where if one kid got to chickenpox, mama put everybody in the same room. So we all got it at the same time and we just dealt with it. I'm not saying we should do that with COVID. I'm just saying that's where I come from. So whatever.
So wear a mask. That's what he's basically.
Wear a mask. Wear a mask.
Yes.
Especially indoors.
Absolutely. Okay. Let's see. People can pile on top of each other, but not allowed to exchange jerseys. It makes sense. I mean, what were your thoughts on that? Because there was an outcry by the fans and there was an outcry by the players out there.
Yeah.
And Richard Sherman said that the NFL is thinking in a nutshell by eliminating this. But once again, it goes back to what we've kind of talked about. The situation is never going to be safe. but you're exchanging jerseys, so there's always that opportunity even more to get something, right? I mean, am I wrong on this?
Yeah, bring out a trash bag, throw it in the trash bag, take it home, wash it, and then put it up, and you're fine. I mean, listen, making that rule, somebody's trying to think through it, and they say, "Oh yeah, let's put that in there," but they didn't think through it all the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they got halfway. Oh, that sounds good. Let's put that in so that it looks like they're doing something. Hey, if we have a list of rules that are as long as my arm, that means we're doing good work. Okay, well, let's add this one in there. Come on, guys. Come on. But honestly, am I going to quibble over that one? No.
I mean,
no.
Do you really watch football for that? I mean, I
right.
don't you even see that aspect. They do it on maybe some replays or something if it's, kind of a rivalry, if you will. But
right. Two teammates from college that are, facing each other or something like that. Yeah, I can remember going to the games, and I usually stick around and watch. And after each game, I would say, Peter, you've been there. I know. What would you say? It's maybe a half a dozen pplayers at most during a jersey swap.
Right.
It's not a ton.
No, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal at all. I just think people complain to just complain, and they do it on this show a lot. And again, I want a football season. I know there's fans out there that want a football season. Yeah. So if you have to take that aspect out in order to have a safe football season, even fans, like you think about it, fans are a big part of it. And it's going to be a shame if they decide to not only restrict fans, but have no fans in the stadium. But if you're able to watch it on TV, still, the NFL is going to make money. It's going to be different. The home field advantage is kind of taken away with the Bucs because there is so much excitement right now with Brady and Gronk coming to town. But you don't want to see it. We'll see what happens. But how do you feel about it? I mean, Baltimore coming out last week, 14,000 fans. Yeah. Jacksonville, I think they said a quarter or a third of fans.
25%. Yeah.
25%. That's usually, their fan base anyway. I mean, it's a joke at this point. So you're really not doing anybody any favors with that. Right. But again, it just comes down to the safety of the situation. And then California basically goes on lockdown once again. So there is definitely some things here that need to be worked out. And you don't have that much time to work it out because basically training camp is July 28th.
Yeah. My feeling is once the Ravens came out with limiting their stadium capacity, I think we're going to see that go. That's going to be the norm this year. I think that's what all 32 teams will wind up doing, except maybe those in California who ain't going to have anybody, or any other state that fully locks down. I think that's probably the way that the league is going to go this particular year. 14, 15,000 is better than none. Maybe, I'm not sure. In a stadium that holds 60,000, that's not a lot of people. But here's the thing, as far as affecting the guys on the field, all of these guys have been playing football since they were young and playing on empty fields. I don't think it's going to affect the game that much. Yes, you lose that home field advantage. Yes, you lose the crowd noise. Yes, you lose that energy exchange that goes back and forth. But these guys are going to go out and play ball, and they're going to play it, and we'll be watching. As far as the league goes, okay, you remember reference what I said of they found $8 billion in television revenue a couple of years ago? They'll replace their money. It'll be okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and if they do, they may take a negative, but it's not going to be that much as far as, I don't think their profits are going to, it's not going to go red for the season, but their profits may just come down a little bit.
Just a little bit, not too much. All right. Let's see here really quick. We'll read this comment. Also, the NFL revealed new helmet face shields to help people not getting exposed, I guess. I mean, you look at this, you have basically JJ Watt coming out saying, I'm not going to play with the visor. It sounds like the NFL Players Association medical director is saying possibly claustrophobia with this big, thing on the face. I mean, it's completely weird how it's explained, but basically, they're trying to put in, face shields and protection, and there's some players that are not having it. Do you think they can make this happen? And do you think players, because of just this aspect, not even COVID, but because of a visor like JJ Watt, would they opt out and force the hand of some of these owners?
Yeah, I think some of them might, and try to do the power play, just like we see people in society who are like, I'm never going to wear a mask and I'm going to walk into any store I want. Okay. go see how that works for you. You might get into some, and others you might get kicked out. I don't know. There's some that do that. I mean, look, I've seen the mask, at least the prototype they have, which from what I understand is something that they've been working with the NFLPA on.
Mm-hmm.
So the NFLPA has been working on bringing this in. Look, guys, it's that plexiglass thing. That's all it is. You can wear one up here over your eyes. You can wear one down here. It's not coming under. It's not closing off everything. It's got more air holes. You can still breathe around it. It's just preventing.
Like it's like a Bane mask. It's just covering. You just put on Bane mask with the helmet. Just do that.
Right. But I don't know. It's one of those. I just sit back and I go, look, if you can wear this mask here, this one doesn't seem to me to be that big of a deal as far as your personal thing. I think at some point, people like the players are just like a lot of people like, you aren't going to tell me to wear more of this stuff. Like, I feel like that's a lot of what it is more. That's my opinion on it anyway.
Yeah, visibility, breathability, highly successful in obstructing the transmission of droplets. That's what it's all about.
That's what they want to do. Right.
That's exactly what they want to do here. All
right.
Is it better to get it now or have antibodies that catch it during the season? I mean, is that a fair question by Milo? I mean, I don't think you would want it at all. If you look at the effects of it, not just death, but the scarring of lungs and then getting it multiple times. I mean, you really don't have a vaccination for it. So I would rather not get it at all. And I think that's what it comes down to. And people saying, well, it's better to get it now because it won't come back. No, there's no guarantee it won't come back. And there's no guarantee you won't spread it to somebody else. And even Dr. Fauci, who I guess was relieved of his duties or something along those lines today. Don't know the whole story.
Oh, wow. I saw something. I didn't know exactly what it was. Yeah.
He even said if 4 players get it, that, basically they have to shut down the whole team and have to shut down the season because once 4 guys get it, then they start to spread it. So I don't know. It's changing every day. It's just something that if you don't have a vaccination for and can definitely kill you, I'm all about being as safe as possible. Now, with that being said, according to Adam Beasley of the Miami Herald, the Dolphins have communicated with players that everything is up in the air and that they could see things getting pushed back. I kind of see this as what's going to happen because of all the spikes in the cases, not only in Florida, but Texas, these main states. I kind of feel like eventually, unfortunately, they may be in a lockdown, so the NFL may push that back. Do you feel like that, or do you think that everything goes as scheduled on July 28th?
I think they're going to try to go as scheduled, but I think what we've seen happen is with the recent uptick in cases, especially with reports of mutations of the virus coming back out of Europe and different things like that, that there's new information, there's new data, and there's new stuff happening that's going to prevent things from happening on time. That's my guess. They're probably, at this point, yes, I think things get pushed back. I don't think they're going to be ready. I mean, we're 2 weeks away. Right. With everything, I mean, think of the conversation you and I have just had in the last, what's it been, Peter? 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And whatever you've had with Al and everybody all week, like nobody knows what's going on. They're not going to be ready by training camp to be able to go in and ensure safety here's the thing, to ensure safety has to be to a relative degree. Like there's going to be an acceptable amount of risk for all of these players, employees. You do that when you go to the grocery store, you take an acceptable amount of risk to go out. Right. So it's not going to be 100% safe. You're never going to catch it. You can't guarantee that, but I just don't think they're going to be ready for that within, that amount of time for 2 weeks. So yeah, I would expect to see a delayed thing, and maybe we get a shortened season, a 12-week or maybe even an 8-week season this year, as opposed to a full 16 weeks.
Now, this is from TMZ Sports. We kind of reported this on Friday, and I was a little bit, I just couldn't believe it. Some of the comments from the mayor or the governor, whatever, the official there. Devin White was having a second annual trail ride, which is for, it's for, God, it escaped me right now. It's for charity.
Yeah.
And, 20-acre property. And he said the turnout is expected to be huge, says CC Cox, who I was calling him Dewey Cox because of the way he was speaking. 2,000 people and maybe even more. But Cox says he's not anticipating it to be a coronavirus concerned crowd. Oh, okay. You're anticipating 2,000 people or more not being concerned with the coronavirus concerned crowd, saying to his knowledge, mask wearing and social distancing will not be enforced at the event. Dewey also says he was basically raised in that town. He wants to come into town. He wants to throw a big party. It's something that he's not going to stop White from hosting the event. Are you a little bit worried about this kind of thing? And I get it. It's for charity. It's for a good purpose. They've done it before, but Lamar Jackson had something that was going to happen in Miami. He canceled it, put it off. Devin White, and they came back later, updated the article saying that they were going to do everything with the safety protocols. But with an official talking like this, it just makes you think once again, there's really no concern about something that you have basically no cure for, that you can get it and you can keep on spreading it to people, and it can definitely affect the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And with that being said, do you think the Buccaneers are talking to their players right now and saying, look, let's hold off on all the celebrity functions. Let's hold off on the non-social distancing. We've got to be all together on this because of Coach Arians' comments before.
Yeah, well, I can't say that it's because of Coach Arians' comments before, but I would certainly hope that the Buccaneers are telling all of their players, let's hold off on this. And that the Buccaneers, or I would really hope the Buccaneers at least stepped in to be like, hey, Devin, even if the governor or the mayor doesn't make you do it, you really need to do this. Now, here's the thing, okay? You listen to all the experts out there, the ones who are telling you to wear a mask every time you go. What do they also say? When you're outside, the dilution rate is fine. So you don't need that mask if you're outside. This is a trail ride. They're going to be outside, okay? Now, if you're outside and you're in close quarters and you're not able to social distance, then, yeah, put on a mask. But I've never sat on a horse and been within 6 feet of my next person for any extended amount of time. Okay. So by its nature, on a horse, outside 6 feet away, which is social distanced, fine. I don't wear a mask. Now, there's all the other things, like don't go touching a bunch of stuff and then touch your face when you're in crowded places. Yes, you need to do that. Like, just be smart. Like, just be smart. And kind of your question, like, what'd you say? It was the mayor or whatever of the town, or the coordinator?
I believe it is the mayor of the town. He's going.
I mean, we can't
right now.
Yeah, we can't account for people who just, there are people out there. Let's face it. There are people out there who don't believe that the disease is a big deal. They don't believe that it's a thing, and they don't believe that doing any kind of protocols is effective. And so if that's where he lands and he's the guy in charge, I'm never visiting that town until this thing is done. But that's my personal opinion. You guys out there got to make your own choices. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell Devin White what to do, but I tell you what, who does need to tell Devin White what to do. And that's Jason Light and BA, AKA his bosses.
Right.
Say,
exactly.
Just be safe. Just be safe if you're going to do it. Okay, fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying at this point. be safe. And I'm just looking it up right now here. The mayor of Cotton Valley, CC Cox, and that's why I called him Cox, because I just felt like, is this a mayor? Is this a guy that you want to be your public official when he's basically not taking it? And that's why I go back to Coach Arians' comments, because he said basically, I've been getting all my coaches' asses about wearing a mask. So if the players see them doing it, they're going to do it. So you have a mayor of a city, and he's not even really taking it seriously. So everybody else is like, oh, okay, we're not going to take it seriously either. So I'm just like, wow, I'm absolutely just dumbfounded at those comments. And we're on right now with Mr. Brent Allen of the Pewtercast. I'm your host, Peter Blake, on the evolution of sports talk television. Let's go out to the webheads here. We read that comment. The jersey swap is an effort to keep items possibly contaminated from leaving the facility. People take those
in a bag, wash them.
Right, sweaty jerseys home. Geez, but I see what they're doing. The larger issue with this is this proves there's no way every player and coach and trainer will follow the social distancing guidelines when away from the facilities. This brings me to my next question.
Yeah.
With everything that's been talked about with the 35% furlong, could you see NFL teams, say, I don't know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, put in some incentives into those contracts with players saying basically, look, when you leave this facility, you can't go out, you can't do this. Could you see that happening? Because once again, if one player gets it, they spread it to the room. I'm not saying Tom Brady, but what if Blaine Gabbert or Ryan Griffin is out and they're not social distancing? So I guess my question is, could you see teams put incentives in there for their players to basically social distance and kind of stay at home to alleviate the concern on their team getting COVID-19?
If that happens, I think that won't happen on a team-by-team basis. I think that's something that's more likely to happen league-wide. That's going to be an NFLPA, NFL coming together saying, we're doing this. We're agreeing on this together as a league. Would they incentivize it? Like, we're going to give you more stuff to do what you should be doing in the first place just to stay? Because I'm pretty sure there's clauses in their contracts that say that they have to stay healthy and do the things to stay healthy. So if you don't, then you get dinged. And I feel like this could maybe fall into that category if you go out and do stupid stuff.
Well, I mean, we know Patrick Mahomes can't go and jet ski, can't, play basketball. Really quick, and we'll wrap it up here. What do you think about Patrick Mahomes and that $503 million contract?
I think the Chiefs are geniuses because I'm telling you, in 4 or 5 years, his contract is going to be not smallish, but it's not going to be the biggest anymore. And they've got him locked up for another 5 years after that. Are you kidding me? And it's only 140 guaranteed, which I know only 140 guaranteed. But I mean, that's the actual contract. Everything after that's just milk and cream. And Mahomes is swimming right now. That is a deal that you call a win-win. And I do think that particular contract is going to be what we start seeing across the league, which is a direct result of the contracts we're seeing in basketball and baseball. And the only way you can get to those numbers is to have super long-term contracts, because it's not going to come in the 4 to 6 year increments that typically occur in an NFL contract.
Do you think the Chiefs can be a dynasty? Like the Patriots, because it's been talked about, and he was even talking in his comments, and I get it. That's what they're going to say. But legitimately, Brent, can they be a dynasty? Because you look at the AFC overall, no more Brady in New England. You have Baltimore and Lamar Jackson. But besides that, maybe Kansas.
They could be, I will say this, a dynasty, maybe. Good for a great number of years to come. Yeah. I definitely think that. And by the way, I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers also could be that if we can get a long-term quarterback situation landed. Because everybody else on the team looks great to me right now.
If he wins one Super Bowl, is it a disappointment? And
if Brady wins one Super Bowl?
If Mahomes wins a Super Bowl, if he just won that one Super Bowl this year and he doesn't win another Super Bowl with how long this contract is somewhat of a disappointment, much like Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, no, I'm going to tell you this. It's going to be a disappointment every year he doesn't win a Super Bowl. And if he doesn't win any more after this, that's a big disappointment. But, there's only one trophy to go around every year. So, but yeah, that'll be, that will be a huge disappointment. But, he can dry his tears with that cash he's got. He'll be fine. I don't feel bad for him. Let's put it that way.
No, and there's also talk that he could actually redo that contract in 5 years. Amazing. Good stuff here, Brent Allen on the Sports Web. Go ahead and promote yourself.
Hey, listen, you guys want to catch up with me and Ren, as Peter had mentioned earlier. We are over at the Pewtercast across all the social medias. Subscribe to us on all the podcasting platforms that are out there. It's at the Pewtercast. You guys can find us. We go a couple of times a month right now. Whenever the season starts, we'll be ramping up. We go like 4 or 5 times during the season, so a week during the season. So you guys make sure you catch up with everything we have going on over there as well too.
All right, there you go. Brent Allen of the Pewtercast. Thanks a lot for coming on the evolution of sports talk television. All right, boss?
Thanks. Go Bucs.
Good stuff. Thanks a lot. There you go. We'll get Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy on here. Best of the Bay. Good stuff from Brent Allen. Go in and check him out along with Ren Daxt, who used to be on this show. We used to have him on here of the Pewtercast. Let's go ahead and read these comments, and then we'll get out to more of our guests. As long as the helmet does what it's supposed to do, I don't have a problem with it. I do see what players mean by having it harder to breathe, right? 2020 really trying to mess up everything. It is. I'm confident that if somebody who has played a game and tested positive after the game, season's canceled. Washington Redskins changing logo, team name. Washington will change their name to the Representatives because they represent Washington's football team. I'm genius. They're going to keep the colors, but there was talk there's going to be no Native American imagery. Say imagery 3 times. Christopher Cole. Al brought it tonight. He did. Best virtual edits video. All leagues are like this, just greedy owners. Brent's hat, though, absolutely. What up, Brent? Stun is stunning. I've said it before earlier in the stream. They are billionaire owners, agreed to pay them what you wanted. Again, I've noticed Brent is wearing the Bruce Arians cap. Can we trademark that hat as the Bruce Arians hat? I'll tell you what, we're going to get him on here really quick. Should we just trademark that hat by now? That's that hat that you have for Bruce Arians as the Bruce Arians hat.
I don't know. Can you see this right here?
Yeah, I can see that. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Bruce Arians. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, obviously, I bought this hat for a reason, and that's when BA came on board. So yeah, it's the BA hat.
All right, good stuff. Thanks a lot, Brent. I had to bring you back on here. All right, good stuff there. So there you go. That's his answer for that question. So hopefully that helped you out. Let's see. Laugh my ass off says best virtual edits video. Dylan, Josh Wells, and Wirfs. Yikes. That's what I say. Gronk at left tackle. No, but he may help out the left tackle. I think Wirfs will be a great tackle, but there's always some growing pains in the rookie year. Absolutely. Always growing pains. Shaq, just like my comment on Instagram. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Nice, Chief. There you go. Thanks, Stun. There you go. Jersey swap ban is about limiting the risk of the virus being attached to the jersey and then leaving the stadium with it. The NFL just decided that's something they didn't want to have to deal with. And I agree with it. I understand it. What has the WWE been doing? I haven't heard of a wrestler testing positive. Stunning is stunning. That is false. There have been plenty of wrestlers who have tested positive. In fact, it's driven Vince McMahon crazy. The backstage right now, the whole company looks bad for what they've done. They've had wrestlers that have basically said, I'm opting out. Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens have opted out. It does not look like a great optic right now. And they actually had a wrestler who just got it recently that they didn't reveal the names, but it could involve a big time storyline. So WWE is not doing it right. They're not doing all the social protocols that they need to do. It'll end up being no fans. Profits will rise if Jordan Doc did crazy numbers. Live football 3 times per week would crush it. What would you think about football being on Saturdays, especially replacing college football if there is no college football this year? Let's see here. I don't know. Stunning is stunning. He wasn't relieved. White House just doesn't trust him anymore. I guess don't agree with it, really. I heard he was relieved, but maybe I got a bad source. Go Bucs. Damn, Brent got some long fingers, says Goro 187. Like little tendrils. Peter, are you I'm not saying it. Governor of Florida is clueless. Why do you keep asking Peter that? I'm not. I just want to hear Peter attempt to say it. I can't say it for some reason on this show, so I'm not going to even bother trying. So I'll just say, okay. Mahomes will have the Madden cure come to him. Curse. No, well, he had that last year. He got hurt last year, but he still won a Super Bowl. So does the Madden curse go away? The Chiefs are what Andy Reid's Eagles were, except with a ring. No Johnny again. Good stuff, Brent. Let's see. Samuel L. Jackson wore it better. Mahomes already has his curse when D4 jumped off sides. That's weird. No Johnny it is. And yo, Peter, can't say it. I cannot say it. I'm going to try again. Dyslexic. There you go. And that injury wasn't a big enough curse. All right, enough of you webheads. Let's go ahead and go to the best of the Bay, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy. And we'll also go to Mr. Joshua Cole Allen. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. They're killing me with that word.
Dyslexic.
You guys can say it, but I say it so quick sometimes. I talk so quick. I can't say it.
What about cinnamon?
Will you shut up and be quiet? All right, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy. Of course, there has been some controversy with Mr. Ryan Jensen. I know that you wanted to, you touched upon it. There's been some controversy for some other people. I mean, give your thoughts. You did a great job yesterday on of course, your show, A Couple Ray, on Sundays at 10 o'clock. Absolutely fantastic job. And I agree with you in your opinion about Jensen. I don't think it's worth it. I get it. He's there for a summit, but it certainly looks like there's no people there that are social distancing and there's no safety precautions being taken.
Just right off the top, let's just start off by saying that as far as going into battle, having Ryan Jensen at center, I think all Buccaneer fans agree that, he's the man for that position. He's one of the top 5 centers in the league, I would say, maybe on average, but, the actions on Saturday, as far as, just trying to have an image that you're at least respecting social distancing and the things we're all being asked as a society to respect with respect to the COVID-19 virus. There was none of that going on whatsoever there. There was some guys having a good time.
Yeah, too many good times there to me, because again, I get it. You're doing a wing contest, but really is a wing contest, Joshua Cole Allen, worth the fact of not only your health, but also he's the center of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's touching the ball. And also, who else is touching the ball? Tom Brady. Hello.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, you just saw, obviously, he's been at almost all the workouts with Tom Brady and the other fellows over there at the high school. And, obviously, Tom is up in Montana now. Everyone's kind of taking a little break. To see him go and do that was kind of shocking, knowing what is kind of at stake this year and the terms of what's going on with the COVID-19, the uncertainty. We still don't have a solid training camp date. Everything's in flux. Everything's moving on. I'm only thinking that maybe he thought that because, training camp is 15 days away from the official start date, that he had time to go back home and quarantine for 2 weeks and make sure that he was good. I know Brian Baldinger put out the video that they were doing testing. He got the test done himself, but we really don't have a timeline on that test. When did they do the test? Did they do the test right when they got there, all separately, isolated, wearing masks, social distancing, then went back to their rooms and stayed there separately, isolating, social distancing until the test results came back, and then they took their masks off? We don't know any of that information. No one's given that information. That information hasn't been put out. So the fact that you have a lot of big men, and I believe, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure Ryan Jensen does have sleep apnea. I'm not sure if that's an underlying effect, but that does have to do with your lungs and breathing. So I don't think it's a very smart decision for him to be making. And then you go back onto Donovan Smith's post the other day, and he's one of his brothers on that line. You have to think that maybe Donovan Smith takes that as a sign of disrespect. And maybe Donovan Smith was invited to that. I don't know. I don't know if you guys know, but he chose not to because his wife is pregnant. It's an interesting scenario that they were all doing it like that.
Hey, Joshua, though.
Screaming.
For right off the top, though, right? So Baldinger's doing the political thing. He's doing the NFL Network, how we're respecting everything. But we already know that, and you know this, the COVID-19 has a 48-hour, I don't want to say gestation period, but there's a 48-hour period before where you first come in contact with it and you actually will show positive. Okay. And then they are doing the tests there. Maybe even it's a good thing that all the linemen are getting the test there. But then to have them all in that circle and leaning in, it's like the super sprint and Anthony Bamonde and I talked about this yesterday on Cup of Ray. It's like the super spreader in the church chorus, 2 months ago, where when you're reaching from deep in the diaphragm and you're like the guys were doing, they were having a great time. And I mentioned that in my piece yesterday. I said no laws were broken. And there's actually a constitution that says the right to assemble, but they were all having a good time. But that was just the thing when they were all yelling from deep within and they're getting into it and you're rooting for it. And Ryan won it. Good for him. And I love how he doesn't even want the Coke afterwards. The other guy's running for Pepto-Bismol on a 12 to put his face into. But, so they tried to spin it as they were being
another wing, right?
Right. But that video itself, and you can't, in this day and age, you can't keep anything from getting out. And that video itself gets out and they're all having that great time. A complete disrespect and breakdown in any kind of COVID protocol we're talking about. And the NFL and the NFLPA are still going back and forth, right? So it's just, you don't know what was inside of his head. Obviously good, but they called it the LI or the offense OL Mastermind Summit. And I was like, yeah, mastermind in my piece yesterday. You might question how that use of that word mastermind was being used.
Yeah, for me, look, don't get me wrong. I love eating wings. And if we had a wing contest right now, I don't know about hot, but, just simple wings, I'd be eating them. These guys know. We bet wings with Joshua Cole Allen on the Patriots, which most likely I'm going to win. And then Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy has seen me scarf down plenty of wings at Ferg's.
He likes those wings.
And St. Pete, and I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about here on the Sports Web, along with Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, Joshua Cole Allen, one of our newest writers on the Evolution. Remember, join the 65,000 following we have here on Facebook, of course, live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and a part of the Landry Football Network, LandryFootball.com. Chris Landry Football on Twitch. So
can I pose a question for you guys?
Sure,
okay, so society, like shopping, working, going out, we're wearing those face masks. And what Nick said today, he was refused service almost at a FedEx because he didn't have an N95, and the person didn't even themselves have one. But here's what I'm saying. So we're talking about face masks and shields on the face. Now, if I could get away with wearing a kick-ass Buccaneer helmet all day, then I would put a plastic shield on it to keep them moisture droplets from passing out in the air. It may not be as good as the mask that we do wear, but these players, they talk about it as if we're going to be restricting them with some kind of a gag around their mouths. And I get it. It's something different, like Antonio Brown in last season with having to use a new helmet. But we're just talking about continuing to limit the moisture droplets from expanding. When you've got those guys piled, when you're in the middle of a pile, there's no way you're going to stop breath and stuff from passing. But as far as the linemen face-to-face, receivers and defensive backs running routes, running backs running through the middle, any kind of shield that can just deflect some of those moisture droplets is what we're talking about trying to do until we have that vaccination.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at the masks, they're not much different than the facial visors. There's slits in them. So I don't see the difficulty of breathing that they would have with that on. Yeah, it might be a little uncomfortable and, not normal to what they're accustomed to. But if it's going to help them be safe and help them take precautions of getting other people sick as well, I just don't see why there would be an issue with it. You had someone like J.J. Watt said he won't wear it. Well, I mean, J.J. Watt, you've been out for the last 3 years almost anyway, so that's fine, I guess.
Big blow for the Texans, though. I mean, and that's
for
the NFL because he's a superstar defensive end. He's a good guy off the field. Once again, I get it. Everybody has their preference, but this is what the NFL has to basically put in place in order to have those safety precautions. And once again, I believe there's going to be some players that are going to opt out and say, you know what, I'm not going to wear this mask. And, in the opinion of you guys, do you think there's a situation where there could be a standoff with the NFL basically making it mandatory and some NFL players or the Players Association saying, look, I'm not going to wear this. We're going to file a grievance and hold up the NFL season. Could you guys see that happening?
I don't. I don't think that with it's take a chance of endangering that revenue. I just think that it's like we wear the masks. Remember, and we all know this. All of our Bucs Report Nation know this, and we know this, that we're wearing the mask to protect others. So I get it if they can actually prove that it actually hurts performance. Okay. But the thing is, again, you're wearing those to keep from others that you're being from safe. So I think that just as there's still places you can kind of go in without a mask. And I think our last guest was just talking about this. We'll go and see what places you can go into and what places you can't. I don't think that the NFL is going to demand it. I just think that it's one of those things where most of the players, I think, are going to do it unless it is a performance issue.
Yeah, and I'd have to agree with Brent Allen. Great last name, by the way. The NFL and the NFLPA have been working together on this face shield mask. It came out today that it's been a joint effort to try to get something that will help protect the players, but also be comfortable for them to wear on the field. You have to think that they've had players testing it out, putting the helmet on, running around, doing active drills, maybe hitting the pads. It's just something that if a player is going to opt out because of a mask, you have to think that they're thinking about opting out beforehand. Maybe they don't put it on. Maybe they haven't put it on. Maybe they just it's such a tricky, slippery slope to go down because, like Donovan Smith said, you have family members, you have this, you have that, and is a Plexi Shield mask really going to protect you fully from COVID droplets? If it gets, there's still the spot between the mask and the visor. If you're not wearing a visor, it's a difficult situation to predict. I don't think that it will be a back and forth thing. I think that the NFLPA and the NFL will come to an agreement on the mask, and they'll say, look, you can wear the mask or you cannot play. A lot of players aren't going to risk that money. The owners aren't going to risk that money. They'll say, whatever, we'll stand off, and then if you guys don't wear the mask, we won't play. No, it's not going to happen. They're going to get that going as much as they can if they have to start a team of undrafted rookies. And we're so sports deprived, especially for football, we'll watch it.
Yeah, you definitely watch it. And I tell you what, open phone line if you guys want to call in and talk about this subject. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Best of the Bay, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy, my co-host, and of course, Joshua Cole Allen, who's got a new show coming out on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. Josh, tell them about it.
The show's called The Audible with Joshua Cole Allen. It's going to be awesome. I'm very excited to bring it to you guys. I'll break it down into pretty much 4 segments. We'll have the kickoff where I knock down the top stories with Tampa Bay Buccaneers for that week. We'll move right into the 4-point stance where I'll be picking 4 questions asked by you guys in the comments and in a post prior to the show. I'll break those down, give you my opinion and my stance on them. We'll go to a quick halftime where I break down the top stories in the NFL that happened during the week. Then we'll go into Chalk Talk. I'll bring on my special guests for that week. This week I have cornerback Mazzy Wilkins coming on, so we'll have him there. And then I'll finish it up with a drive home where I hammer down my thoughts to the show. It's going to be great. I have a lot of fun things going on. I'm excited. I'm actually going to give you guys a little teaser now. Make sure you tune in early on details on how to win one of many giveaways on my show. We have a nice little Doug Martin signed 8x10 photo right here that I'll be giving away on the show. You can enter this week, and then next week I'll give you I'll announce the winner, and I'll announce my next giveaway as well. So make sure you tune in right early, right when the show starts off at 8 o'clock. Figure out how you can enter to win that autograph poster. Every week will be a different prize, a different giveaway. I have them up to about 12 weeks so far. So we got 12 weeks of prizes and giveaways to do. So I'm excited about that. And then obviously I'm going to lead in for the man, the myth, the legend, who is Peter Blake on the Sports Web. So make sure you stay tuned immediately after my show for the Sports Web. I'm really excited. I can't wait to get it to you guys.
Yes, absolutely excited to have that show. And of course, if you don't remember, we're on the Landry Football Network 5 days a week for 3 hours. Who's doing that? No commercial interruption. You just have to go through a couple commercials at the beginning of the show. We'll try to keep them brief. There is, though, kind of a new sponsor here, and I mispronounced it.
If you want to go to me, I can actually show something real quick.
Go for it.
I want to make me widescreen real quick, Peter.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. Go ahead, Joshua Cole Allen.
So it's Malectronic. They're Bluetooth headphones and speakers. They work perfectly. I have 2 of them on display right here. We have the Rocket Man, which is kind of your novelty, speaker that you could use in like the office or something, listen to music low key. But then we have the Hat Trick 2.0. This thing, I brought it to the pool the other day. It bumps. It's got a great system, shock-proof, waterproof, also dust-proof. There's a speaker built in, so you can take phone calls on it. I'm using actually Malectronic headphones right now. They're the Interstellars. Sounds clear. I've got my noise canceling on right now, so I got all the outside noise blocked out. They work great. I highly suggest looking at them. And again, if you go on their website, it's either shopsoundsperfect.com or malectronic.com and use code BucsReport, you get 40% off. It's a great deal that we have going on, a great promotion. It drops these prices almost in half. And you guys are going to love the products. I love the products. And I'm not just saying that because they're a sponsor. I didn't expect to get these dropped off to me. And I've been using them ever since. So definitely check that out, malectronic.com.
All right, there you go. And it sounds perfect. Good stuff there. Again, 40%.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
So everybody out there, we all know that Joshua is a hustler, and we know he's our interview guy, and we know what he brings to the table. But Peter, you and I, we've actually been quite fortunate, and Joshua, I hope you don't mind me mentioning that as you were developing this, we've kind of been around since that was just, the zenith of the idea, if you will, or as it started to expand. And we've been seeing the work that you're doing on it. Cannot wait to see the finished product. But yeah, it's been fantastic watching you get so excited and develop this show, and you're bouncing the ideas off of us, and just some fantastic ideas. So I can't wait for the show Wednesday night.
Thanks a lot, Ray. I appreciate that.
Oh, brother, thank you.
And when you got experience like you guys, you have to go to it. We've got one of the best writers in the Bay, award-winning writer in the Bay, and obviously, I don't need to read off Peter Blake's accolades. You guys know how good he is. 5 days a week, just going hard all the time, bringing you the best content there is for the Buccaneers. So you guys already know.
All right, good stuff. Your check is in the mail, my friend. Thank you,
brother.
Tampa Bay Ray.
I got a steak and cheese sub.
you go.
Hey, Peter, there was one more thing. I know you want to get some webhead ideas, but working it back, and Joshua, what do you think about this? Working it back to if there isn't the college football season, which I kind of conflicted because we still want to see it, even if it was going to be like where they're playing conferences.
I don't think there is. I just think
Right.
there's too much risk at that point. You have students, you have administration. It's not like the NFL where it's just coaches and professional football players. Everybody's professional. These kids aren't getting paid. And then on top of it, the students, the teachers, administration, it's just too much for me. I think there's going to be no college football this year. I hate to say it.
Well, we talk about the loss of revenue with the seats and the selling of the seats, and we talked about them using the tarps in the first 9 rows and this and that. But really, because you're not going to, even if the NFL football is out, the ratings will be outrageous. Let's say that we get the season on and the ratings are outrageous. The NFL contracts with, ESPN and CBS and the NFL Network are already in place. They're already done. They're not going to get any more revenues from that. But those Saturday games on platforms like a YouTube or a Facebook or even a Twitch, these organizations and then some networks are going to bid for those games if that should come to pass. And that's the situation. So also works back to the whole 35%. I know all this is still in flux, just like the COVID protocol, list they're doing it every day. But if that does come to pass, the NFL is still asking the players to do a 35% of their payroll into an escrow. It just seemed like a ridiculous thing for them to do. It looked like they were aiming high to come in low and try to get something else negotiated. It was just stupid.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'll tell you right now, with everything that is going on with COVID, I feel like 35% is a smack in the face. And it's almost like the NFL owners didn't learn their lesson or didn't learn Major League Baseball owners' lesson. Is there a thought process with them saying they need 35%? They're trying to furlong that. Is there a thought process where you think the owners are basically trying to make the players not have a football season?
I don't understand it because they're selling ads in the first 8 rows. So that money's going to be made back tenfold with the advertisements. Now, I heard, somewhere that it might just be local advertisements. So you might not make as much money there, but you're still going to have advertisements in there. It's going to be advertisements all over the place. We talked earlier about possible advertisements on helmets on the field. They're going to make that money, a portion of it back. I don't see why they would need to escrow the 35%. And I agree, it's kind of like a slap in the face. Like, obviously it's a pandemic. No one can control this. It's not like it's the players, who are demanding more money or this or that. It's something that's going on globally right now. So to ask them to take a pay decrease is kind of for what they do and all that they provide. And, that's just not even on the field, giving back to the community and the movement and everything like that. It doesn't make sense to me. You thought they might learn from baseball, as you said, but it appears they're not. I know it was just an idea that was floated down, and obviously the NFL has gotten hell from it, from the players, from the agents, from fans. So I don't think that it's something that's going to go through. But the fact that it came out and was brought up, obviously, has irritated a lot of people.
Yeah, it's definitely irritated a lot of people here at Tampa Bay, Ray. So.
Yeah. If there was that local advertising and it was about 20, 25 years ago, maybe even 15 years ago, dime on a dollar says that Joe Redner would have had the Mons Venus advertisement on a 50-yard line right behind the player.
Well, that's Peter's spot, so.
Would you shut up and be quiet? Honestly, I've never even been there before. I'm not joking. Never been there before in my life. Let's talk about Shaq Barrett here, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. He signs the franchise tender, but there's going to be a grievance that's going to be filed. What do you think the Bucs should do in this case? Should they come halfway? Should they pay him as a defensive end? Should they pay him as a linebacker? Because just thinking about it, talking to Brent Allen, the more you wrangle back and forth, the more you kind of ruin that relationship, right?
Yeah, and I always hate to use the term product of the system. I'm not saying, I know Shaq put in his 4 years. We saw him come on. We've seen his talent. The guy's like, he's what we thought Spence was going to, not Spence, but yeah, Spence was going to be. But the thing about it is locking him up. The romantic thought is, well, wouldn't it be great if they could come out with a 2 or 3 year deal? And like you said, Peter, meet him halfway and maybe they kick it into a bonus and they're able to spread it out. But the truth of the matter is, again, Godwin coming up next year, the defense is everything wants to stay in flux. For a stand-up linebacker that plays great as a defensive end stand-up linebacker in a 3-4, what do you want to extend? How far out do you want to go? Do you just want to start having yourself cap trouble? We got Tom Brady this year and next year. but already we're looking to the future and how much money are you going to tie up? I'm not saying that we love our Shaq Barrett, 19 and a half sacks, leads the NFL, sets a new Buccaneers season record for sacks. But is that a position with Devin White and Levante at linebacker to stand up? Is that a position that we can develop also somehow else and not be paying $60 million over 3 years? Just wondering.
Josh, what do you think?
I mean, you look at what happened between the Ravens and Baltimore with Matt Judon. He was tagged as a linebacker. He wanted to get paid as a defensive end. They met in the middle at 16. I believe that's something that can happen here. And I also agree with you that the more back and forth you have, the more kind of bickering, and relationship it could kind of deteriorate there. I'm also holding out hope because when he did that interview on Sirius NFL, he said there was only one or two small things that are holding up the deal. You got to think maybe guaranteed money, length of contract, or maybe money. So I'm still holding out hope that they can hammer something out, between today and tomorrow. I know it's a long shot, but we'll see what can happen. As far as that, I know he wants to get paid big money. And I don't think that it was a fluke, but I just see with the full JPP, Vita Vea getting more snaps and almost getting sacks. Someone like Antoine Winfield coming in here, a healthy Devin White, Levante David back there with the Devin White there, kind of giving him a little bit more freedom to attack the line. That his sack numbers are going to go down. They're going to go down significantly. That's not going to be 19. I see more around like 12, 13 maybe. And that's not because he's going to regress as a player, just because of the players that are there. A healthy Anthony Nelson, which I know is your dude, Peter. So just looking at that, I see the sack numbers going down. Now, will the Buccaneers try to use that as a bargaining chip next year to be like, hey, look at your sack numbers went down? But the only way to get him on board next year is to tag him again. Or else he could go to the free agent market. And we all know one of the most overpaid positions on the free agent market are pass rushers. So you're taking that chance.
But here's the thing with Shaq, right? He's already got the franchise. I'm sorry, Peter.
Tell you what,
he's already,
okay. Let's go out to the phone lines here really quick. Welcome to the evolution of sports talk television. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, how's it going, Peter? It's Chris.
Hey, Chris, what's up?
Hey, not much. Just wanted to touch on the Shaq Barrett situation.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, so I mean, he came out 5 days prior to the deadline saying that he's just going to sign his tender. So meaning to me, that's telling me within the next 2 days, they're probably not going to get a deal done. Now, if they don't come up with a deal by the time next season happens, I know that's kind of far out. Could you see the Bucs using the tag on him again?
Yes.
Or will they try to negotiate? Okay.
Well, according to Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, he said that they were still trying to work on some long-term deal. So hopefully they can get that done during the season. But look, I get it. He definitely deserves to be paid. Right now, I don't know what's holding it up. Obviously, it's probably salary cap. They still have to sign the rookies, but they could definitely make it happen. Maybe as the organization, they're kind of trying to see if he can do it again, and that's their right to do that. And they also have the option next year where they could franchise him, but they have to figure out first and foremost, is it going to be as a defensive end, which is $2 more million, or is it going to be a linebacker? For me, maybe you've just come halfway and pay him a little over the $15 million. You make him happy, and then you could start to worry about the long-term deal. But I almost feel like the Bucs fans and this organization has been searching for a guy to get over double-digit sacks, and now they got him, and they're ready to let him go. It's like, no, you can't let a pass rusher like that go. You got to pay the man.
We've already given the franchise for 2020. So the guy's going to eat fantastic. And sure, like we think, we're sure he's going to have a decent year. He's going to ball out. So what's our downside? We've already got him paid. We've committed the money. He balls out this year. And then next year we do pay him the big contract and or franchise. But then you are starting to have you're starting to have that back and forth and everything. But the thing about it is also with an improving Devin White and with Vita Vea and with our defense improving on the back end, is that a position that we take year to year? Because is that a plug-and-play position? I'm not taking a thing away from Shaq. I'm just saying you can only have so many superstars before you start going, okay, where are we going to make cuts or where are we going to start losing set talent? To me, the stand-up linebacker as a defensive lineman in the 3-4, it's not so much a plug-and-play position. It's not, you don't find your Von Millers, you don't find your Shaq Barretts every day. But how many, you're going to, Devin White's, or before we even drafted him, he's already wanting to talk about that second contract and how he's going to show up in the next 3 years. We're going to have, what, $120 million on the defense and $110 million on it. I mean, it's crazy to start thinking. So you got to think long-term as far as the cap. So, yeah, let him ride one more year. If he balls out, let the market play, and maybe he still stays here because we get close, but not quite to the Lombardi, and he wants to try it again next year.
I'll tell you right now, it's the uncertainty of the cap situation also because of COVID-19. Everything that's happening right now may have some type of effect of that salary cap going up because there's talk that it could just be a flat cap. So if it's a flat cap, not only do you have Chris Godwin that you have to also worry about, Levante David that's coming up. So there's a lot of things that they have to put into context, and we'll have to see how that works. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, and pass rushers like that they don't grow on trees. You see how many people draft pass rushers every year in the draft to try to hit someone like a Shaq Barrett. And as you said, Peter, the best scenario for the Buccaneers and for us as fans and reporters is to have them agree to a 1-year deal, not the franchise tag. Because if he signs that franchise tag and no deal is made, that's it. They can't discuss contract negotiations. They can discuss it, but they can't sign him to an extension this year. But if they come off of the franchise tag and agree to a 1-year deal, that's a different story because now they have the flexibility to sign him to a long-term contract during the season.
That's a great point.
That's right. Yeah, you can't come to a long-term deal during the season once you sign that tag. So they have to get something done here in the next couple of days. Chris, anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all your points. That's a great point. I mean, I would rather see the 1-year deal so they can still negotiate throughout the year.
Sure.
But like you said, pass rushers don't grow on trees. And when's the last time the Bucs had one? I mean,
Sameen Rice.
We could say Michael Bennett.
Right.
But, we never know if he was going to be the same Michael Bennett with the Bucs as he was with Seattle.
Well, they had JPP a couple of years ago. You get Shaq. So they've had some pass rushers, but it was a long time since you had a guy like this who certainly looks like he's more than was advertised. And because he didn't get those reps in Denver with the Von Miller and also with the Bradley Chubb. And you can see when he got those reps and he was in the perfect defense. And also it helped with JPP coming back. It took the pressure off of him. But when JPP was gone, he was still balling out. So can you imagine if you got him on the other side for a full year? I almost feel like he may duplicate those numbers. It's crazy to think 19.5 sacks could be duplicated. But from Shaq Barrett, he's got everything that you want. Great hand placement, great counter moves, spin moves. I mean, he's got it all. He's got everything that a pass rusher should have in this defense.
For a linebacker. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Play like a defensive end. So,
in a 3-4, your outside linebacker should play like a defensive end. But is he a defensive end or is he a linebacker? I know we say that we got the special designation. Is it potato? Which one is it?
Is he a linebacker? And in this defense, he's a linebacker, but they play him like a defensive end. So I think he's an edge rusher. Chris, what do you consider him as?
I buy that.
Chris?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm going to say he's a pass rusher. He's an edge player.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is when I looked at the numbers, because I was curious the other day when I want to be tagged as a defensive end, but the 3-4 outside linebackers, Von Miller, Khalil Mack, are the ones that make more than the defensive ends. I think DeMarcus Lawrence from Dallas, he makes $20 or $21 million, and Khalil Mack's making $23.5 million per year.
A lot of money.
So I'm just trying to see, did he only want to be designated as a DN to get the extra $2 million this year?
Well, of course. I mean, I don't think he's going to leave $2 million on the table.
But how does that go for future contract talks? So if their league's like, okay, we'll give you the defensive end designation.
Right.
So how does that affect future negotiations? Is he going to ask for defensive end money, which is what I just said?
Yes.
$2.5 million less.
I think he's definitely going to ask for defensive end money, and that's his whole plan in the first place. And
maybe next year he asks to be designated as a quarterback, and he goes after a Patrick Mahomes type contract.
Shut up and
just kidding.
Anything else, Chris?
That's it.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you. Yep, absolutely. Definitely use your second call. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, Best of the Bay. Of course, one of our newest writers here, Mr. Joshua Cole Allen. Once again, check out his new show here, live on Bucs Report on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. It's called The Audible. I've already seen the intro. I've already heard about the guests. So it's going to be very entertaining, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. And he's only going to get better and better here. One of the new guys here on Bucs Report. So With all that being said, again, open phone line 727-255-0391. That's what it's all about. It's about getting paid. And you mentioned this Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. He may designate himself as a quarterback, but just as important as a quarterback, if you're looking at it, guys, because there's a couple things you need in the NFL. And we've talked about it before. Not only do you need a quarterback that can win some games and make all the throws, but you need a guy that can get after the quarterback. And that's exactly what Jack showed last year for the Bucs.
Who's your stud though? I mean, now we're obviously 2019 Shaq made balled out, but is Devin White going to be the quarterback of your defense? Is he going to be your outs? I mean, he's already shown the potential. Man, that play last year where he ran he got backside, ran the fumble where he ran back and tackled that guy. Yep. And just, he's already shown the ability. And again, I'm not saying you can't spread the love, but especially with like you said, Peter, with the uncertainty of the salary cap moving forward, especially how a COVID-19 is going to affect it. It's not that I'm not saying that, Shaq shouldn't be recognized. He wouldn't be the first good player that slipped away from Tampa Bay, but all 32 teams have good players that slip away. I'm not saying he's going to, but you got to decide. I think that Devin White's going to be your quarterback of your defense, and that's why I don't want to use the plug and play, he's replaceable thing, but is that a position that you can experiment with?
I'll tell you what, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, let's go ahead and go out to the phone lines. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. You're on with yours truly, along with Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay, and of course, Joshua Cole Allen, one of our newest writers here on the Sports Web. What's on your mind?
Hey, this is Greg calling from new to the port to the Richie.
All right, man. What's on your mind?
My mind is, all these people are concerned. What Donovan is he's not going to be our offensive line this year, right? He's canceling out.
I don't know if he's canceling out, but it certainly seems like, guys, with those comments about his young child and maybe getting a pay raise, of course, that comes in tune with the 35% furlong, which is most likely going to be rejected, not even going to be offered. It certainly seems like he may opt out. Look, let's just say, Greg, he did opt out. What would you do if you're the general manager of the Bucs this year?
To my GM, to be honest with you, I do not know, but to all the people who are scared and all this about protecting Tom Brady, we have to understand this guy is he literally is the greatest ever, right?
So yeah, but look, Greg, you can look at what the fans are saying right now and some of the pundits out there. If you miss your left tackle, who you're depending on, you're paying big money to protect a 43-year-old quarterback, and I get it, he can get rid of the ball fast. There's a lot of uncertainty there. You look at the options. Tristan Wirfs is a rookie. You want to put a rookie at left tackle? I don't know about that. Joe Haig, you want to put him there? Josh Wells, Jason Peters, even if you pick him up in free agency, if you have the money. Because of the Donovan Smith deal and the NFL grants you some salary cap relief, I'm not sure if all those options are the best when it comes down to it. You want a player that's in your system, that knows the system, that you're paying that big money to. I get it. He's not the greatest left tackle of all time, but the options seem like they're not very good.
100%. It's not the best scenario, but it's kind of a comparison. It's like Peyton Manning. The reason Peyton Manning was great because he can read the defenses and know exactly where his receivers are going to. Peyton Manning never had the greatest receivers, a.k.a. Tom Brady never had the greatest receivers where he's going to. So once everyone learns the routes, he can snap that ball. Obviously, he's going to be coming off the edge and he might be getting sacked, but he knows exactly where he wants to go with that ball. Tom Brady is a genius of that. And I'm not, listen, I've been a Tom Brady hater since 2004, since he's been killing the league ever since. But we have to understand Tom Brady is a genius of timing. Timing is most important than anything.
It's a good point.
When he snaps that ball, he's going to know, okay, my left tackle, I'm about to get sacked and or there's pressure coming off. He's going to know where to go with that ball, and we all need to know that as Bucs fans. We're all concerned. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen?
So you're not that concerned about it. You just think they'll put in anybody in there, and they won't have any bumps in the road. You think Tom Brady's good enough or great enough to handle that?
100%. There's going to be bumps in the road, and yes, I am still concerned about it. But we also have to understand the mind of Tom Brady. He's going to throw that ball. He's going to release it way quicker than any average quarterback in the league. And we have to understand that he's going to get it off, and he's going to throw to an open receiver, an open slot, an open running back. And that's what's going to happen. And we're all so scared, but dude, we got to have faith in him. Sorry. Love everybody, all the Bucs fans. Thank you for answering my call. But we all have to know Tom Brady is he's a genius with the ball and reading defenses. He's going to know what's coming at him. He's going to know what receiver is going to be open based off the routes and everything.
Okay.
So we don't take that into consideration. And I really think you guys should talk about that more.
All right, so we'll definitely
talk about it right now.
I'll tell you what, you stay on the line here. I'm going to go to Tampa Bay Ray, and then I'll go to you, Joshua Cole Allen. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, does he have a point? I mean, we're much to do about nothing, if you will. We're making too much. First, Donovan Smith hasn't opted out, but if he did, do you think that Tom Brady would be able to overcome this obstacle of having a different left tackle at that point? Or are we making too much of a big deal about this?
Well, no, I mean, obviously, Donovan Smith's greatest ability is his availability, but we've been talking so much about going to this, 7 tight end set that we're talking about. I mean, I think we could say we have the most talented and maybe the largest tight end group in the entire NFL. So are they going to get creative with chip blocks and tight ends? They might go double tight end on the left side half the time. And the thing about it is, because of Tom Brady getting rid of the ball so fast with his quick release, doesn't that they're faking in the block, but really one or both of them are actually breaking out for a pass, and that opens up another dimension entirely for the NFL, for the line. But do you want your best players in there? Yes, definitely. But I do think that they do have some options.
Joshua.
Yeah, first, I just want to comment on the Peyton Manning had Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, Emmanuel Sanders, Demarius Thomas, Wes Welker. He's had some good wide receivers. Same with Tom Brady, Deion Branch, Super Bowl MVP, Randy Moss, Wes Welker, Julian Edelman. So they've had good receivers. But to touch on this part of on the tackle part, Tom Brady was running for his life last year with Marshall Newhouse, a.k.a. the Turnstile, as his left tackle. The problem with that, though, is he had a banged-up Julian Edelman. He had rookies and undrafted free agents he was throwing it to. Mohamed Sanu that came in halfway. He didn't have any tight ends. So the timing, the chemistry wasn't there, or it was injury plagued or anything like that. So when he did try to get rid of those quick passes or get the ball away because he knew he had the pressure coming from him on the left side, he was still building a rapport with those wide receivers, didn't have the rapport, or they were injured. Coming to a team like this where we've already talked. We just can't wait to see the matchups defensive coordinators come up with, because who are you going to double cover? Because if you double cover somebody, you're leaving somebody open on a one-on-one. Teams are going to have to play more man-to-man on this with this team because there's so many weapons. So if there's a case, I trust Joe Haig a lot more than I trust Marshall Newhouse. I think that, as Ray just said, we have those tight ends in an OJ and a Rob Gronkowski to help chip blocks. We have someone like Keyshawn Vaughn, who is good in pass protection, that can chip as well. If the worst case scenario is Donovan Smith decides to opt out, I agree with the caller. I don't think we'll be in terrible, terrible shape that the season is lost, abandon all hope, because Tom Brady is that good of a decision maker, is that good of reading defenses, is that good at getting the ball away quickly, just making that slight stutter step to the side or to the forward, to the back, to move, out of the grasp of a defender by finger's length. He does have that ability. And unlike last year, this year he has the weapons that he can rely on to make the catch and make the plays.
Good stuff. All right. Anything else, Greg?
One more thing, too. Thank you guys for your input.
Yeah,
you
man.
gotta understand, Tom Brady's stats last year, his worst offensive line, his worst receivers, dude, he had great stats.
Yeah.
Really look at his statistical stats. He was top 10, 100%. So let's keep that in mind. And, thank you guys so much for your output.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot. And definitely use the second call here on the Evolution. Tell your friends. All right.
Will do.
All right. Good stuff. Yeah. Open phone line. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay. And, of course, we've got Joshua Cole Allen, one of our newest writers here. I know you got to get out of here, Joshua, so your final thoughts.
Final thoughts, wear a mask, social distance. Just because the players haven't done it recently doesn't mean that you shouldn't. We're trying to take the steps to get better, especially if you live in Florida. Make sure you're making the proper protocols and using the proper precautions, because we've seen what's happened over the last couple of weeks where we've just spiked in cases. If you go out there and you do your part, then it's more likely that we'll be able to have a football season. So just do your part. let's go Bucs. We all want the season to start so we can cover them and we can see them play. And then, just tune in on Wednesday, my show premiere, The Audible with Joshua Cole Allen. Again, I am giving away this signed Doug Martin photo. Let me get
Muscle
that
hamster.
set. You can see the muscle hamster. I'll be giving that away, so tune in earlier on in the show, right at 8 o'clock. You don't want to miss anything. You won't want to miss a play. And figure out how you have a chance to win that. Also, malectronic.com. Go on there. Use Bucs Report for 40% off. Doing great deals. Got great products. And again, just want to thank you guys for having me on. Thanks to the fans for tuning in. And have a good night.
Josh, before you cut out, I wanted to say something. You threw some props out on that Dick Rabine piece that I wrote. Of course, for those of you, and then that article kind of got some good run, but I really appreciated that coming from you because you having your experience with the Patriots, you knew who Dick Rabine was. You knew that he was the quarterback's coach and the true believer, the one who brought Tom Brady to that team. And when you told me that was a good story, I appreciated that, bro. So I just want to let you know again, I'm really looking forward to Wednesday night. It's going to be fantastic.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Where can they follow you on Twitter?
At Joshua_C_Allen. We'll put a post up on here on the Bucs Report Facebook page and Twitter page, probably either tomorrow afternoon or Wednesday. Get your questions in for that 4-point stance. I'm going to pick 4 questions randomly. I'll pick different people every time. I'll read your question on air and I'll give you my stance on it, my opinion on it. So make sure you get those questions. If you want to get them to me early, you can always tweet me at Joshua_C_Allen, and I'll throw those in the mix, and I'll pick 4 of those, and we'll tackle them together on the show. So excited for that.
All right. Thanks a lot for joining us here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. All right.
Absolutely. Have a good night, guys.
All right. There you go. So now it is just the 2 of us.
Just the 2 of us.
Okay. We can make it if we try. The phone number is open. Would you shut up? 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Anytime I get a chance to do a show with Joshua Cole Allen, but also my buddy here, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, who does a phenomenal job with his soup du jour, if you will, of Couple Ray on 10 a.m. on Sundays here live on Bucs Report. Let's go out to the webheads here, read what they have to say. Joshua, how was it losing Nick Citro's Twitter account bracket? I don't know. I'm not going to ask him. What's up, Ray and Joshua? Because I lost. So, Best Virtual Edits Video, don't know what they're doing. It's like wearing a ripped condom. Wow. Hey, Josh. Chris, that's crazy. Ben Cornett says both Russell Westbrook and James Harden have reported to be tested positive for COVID-19. So there you go. Russell Westbrook, James Harden. He's not wrong, though. Best Virtual Edits Video. Damn, it sucks to be a Rockets fan. What else is new? Andrew Fulbert, the big board. Bucs Report staff wing eating contest and spiciest. I'm okay with the spicy. I'll go with the wing contest. Let's get healthy. Let's get safe, and we'll do that. And I
Just the 2 of us.
I think I'll definitely win. There we go. All right, so we got a little tech issue here and there. Profits over people. I think the NFL medical director should be the nation's medical director. Laugh out loud. Best Virtual Edits Video. How is that crazy? What's the purpose of wearing a ripped condom? It defeats the purpose. Getting tested and huddling around 50 people does nothing. Okay, there we go. All right, nobody wants to call tonight. They did call tonight. Drop your questions to the guys right here in the comments section. So you're sitting on your couch watching football is more important than these players' health. These are grown-ass men with families, not your personal entertainment. Never said that. Never, ever said that at all. I don't know who said that on this, Mikey, but I'm definitely concerned about the social distancing protocols. I would like to see football. I think there's a lot of fans out there that would like to see football. I'll tell you what, let's go ahead. We'll watch COVID updates all throughout the football season. I'm definitely concerned about football players and their health. I'm also, at the end of the day, a football fan. I think there's a lot of people that are football fans, because if you're not a football fan, then why are you watching this broadcast? So we absolutely care here at Bucs Report. I know I do, and I know Tampa Bay Ray does. Hey, Taylor Allen. Yeah, true. Best Virtual Edits Video. Josh, what is that? called that you have. Yeah, for real. What's the spelling on that? Let's see here. Melotronic. I think that's how we said it. Is that how we said it?
Melectronic, yeah, Melec.
Melectronic. All right. If there's no college football, there's no high school football. That definitely might happen. I believe there will be no high school football in some states, maybe Florida, unfortunately, states with high COVID numbers. Dylan, I don't see high school football in most states. Maybe the smaller ones who have low numbers. Best virtual edits video. Yeah, it's just so much on the school district and the athletic association. Dylan, my home state of Vermont has only 1,301 cases since the start, 56 deaths, and only 14 new cases reported today. They're doing it right. David T. Walker says, so epic. So I could see some high school sports happening there, possibly. Dylan also says, if you had to pick one, who would you sign, Shaq long-term or re-sign Levante? I'm sorry. I love Levante David. He's getting up there in age, though. For me, again, you don't have a pass rushing specialist. You finally got one. I'm signing Shaq to a long-term deal. I'm taking my chances. Hopefully you can work something out with Levante David. And because he's been so consistent, he's been unbelievable. He's one of the most underrated players in the league. But I feel like you can't have everybody. And if you have to let Levante David go or sign him to a smaller deal, which I don't think he'll take, I would let him go for Shaq. I'm sorry. That's my.
Well, I mean, and plus, am I wrong here, Peter? Maybe I might be putting you on a spot here because I haven't looked this up. But I mean, Cameron Brate's contract, I think next year, I'm not sure that we have a large. I mean, should we go another route because we have so many tight ends and receivers? And that's the thing about having a great team is Jason Light has to make those tough decisions because in a perfect world, you want to keep the whole gang together forever, right? But I mean, how did we do it back with the defense in 90? Dungy did defense from 97 through 2003 until they started taking it apart. But, the Levante David question, obviously you go with the Shaq Barrett because, again, it works back to me where I think that Devin White's going to grow into that quarterback of that Derek Brooks of that defense or that quarterback of that defense. Although Shelton Quarles was actually pretty good vocal presence on that defense too with Derek, wasn't he?
Absolutely. And look, you replaced a Hardy Nickerson, who at the time was the reason why you ran the Tampa 2. And if you don't know what the Tampa 2 is, basically you cover both halves of the field with your safeties and your middle linebacker runs deep. And Nickerson was that athletic to do it. But eventually a guy gets up in age or he commands too much money. And that's why it's so important to draft. And you get a guy like a Shelton Quarles who comes in, and they've had other players in that defense. That's why it was such an important position to fill, because that linebacker had to fill that. But they didn't panic. They didn't overpay for it. Nickerson was unbelievable. David is unbelievable. And I'm not saying he shouldn't be re-signed, but you also have to keep it in perspective. If you miss out on somebody who, I get it, it's only done it in 1 year, but 19 and a half sacks, let's say he does double-digit sacks again, and you let him get out of here like a Michael Bennett, and he goes on to be the pass rushing specialist that you always wanted, you're going to be kicking yourself. Not to say Levante David isn't a talented player.
Oh, yeah.
He may have just lost a step or two. Just
make no mistake, the question was, and I know we both know this, the question was, which one would you keep? But really, in all reality, moving forward, if they did at the end of the day started having to make cost cuts because, we're going out of business sale, you think Levante and Shaq would both be on this team and they'd find a way to make it work, because Levante's next contract isn't going to be the Shaq franchise tag. He's on the other side of his career. He understands that. Now, will there be a team out there that would overpay for him? Obviously, that's a thing that happens every year. But still, so the Bucs could keep them both moving forward. It's just the question was one or the other. So we hypothesized. That's all.
That's it. That's all we do here on the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with my co-host here, Mr. Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy. So we answered that question. Jerome says, pay the man. He's young enough to be here a while. The fans want him. He wants to be here. Let's get it done. And again, it goes back to the uncertain situation of the salary cap next year. What's going to happen off the field with COVID? And really, they don't have the money this year. I mean, they have enough money to franchise them, but they want to get a deal done that's going to be fair. And then, of course, Shaq wants the extra $2 million. He wants to be paid as a defensive end. And if I'm Shaq Barrett, I would want to be paid as a defensive end because that's where your big money is. Your outside linebacker, not so much. Your defensive end, that's where the real money is, and I get it. We also have a decision on Howard and Brate as well. I take defense over offense. We have seen it cannot slow teams down if you can't win. Agree. But the reason why Ray, you keep an OJ Howard and a Cameron Brate is because of the uncertain situation with Gronkowski being out for a year, coming back. I get it. He's $10 million, but you really don't know what you're going to get out of Rob Gronkowski in 2020.
You know what I like about Gronkowski, not only his natural ability and just the enthusiasm he brings to the team, and obviously his God-given ability. But I didn't even realize this, but yeah, he's actually, because he was out for the year and now coming back, he is eligible for the NFL 2020 Comeback Player of the Year award. And wouldn't that just be fantastic if, in all the other accolades, picking up the Lombardi over here in about 8 months, but everything else, hopefully, that happens for the team this year. Again, Shaq leads the NFL in sacks and all. Wouldn't it be great to see a Gronkowski come in and get that, Comeback Player of the Year award? Just another thing he could work for.
Absolutely. That would absolutely be great to see that. And again, he's going to be motivated. If he's only signing that 1-year deal, that chip is always going to be on his shoulder to earn that big time contract. And Shaq is a guy that has something to prove. He's always had something to prove. When he didn't get the reps in Denver, he had the great opportunity to be with the Bucs. And that is probably the advantage that the Bucs have, because he can always go back to that very day when the Bucs gave him a 1-year contract and nobody else did. That's called loyalty, my friend, and I think that definitely will go a long way with talking about the Bucs.
And he's a great guy, and that's the thing about it is he's not off the field issues, just a family guy, So he's all around. He's definitely the kind of a player you'd like to keep in your organization.
Yeah, Shaq's contract favors the Bucs. The odds of him repeating those numbers are slim to nil. 10 to 12 sacks gets you in the good range. 8 to 11 million is where he falls. I definitely think he has the opportunity to repeat. I don't know about 19 and a half sacks, but double-digit sacks, definitely. Ola, how are you? I saw your Chris Landry football channel here on Twitch. Thanks
All right.
We're part of the Landry Football Network. You have pretty good content, cool stream. The Sports Web live at 9 p.m. on Bucs Report. 727-255-0391 without Keck. I'm about to design a cool overlay for your streaming. All right. Well, I appreciate that. Whoever that is, thanks a lot for tuning in. Melotronic, definitely a Star Wars thing, if I'm saying that right. Am I saying that right? Because somebody corrected me on it.
No, you're Melectronic.
That's what I thought.
It's like electronic, but put the mal in front of it, so Malectronic or Melectronic. I mean, I guess you could emphasize.
Find the link in my account pick. P.S. Talk shows and podcast is legendary, and I feel like this is the evolution. Is it a podcast? It becomes a podcast when it goes on LandryFootball.com. But the difference between the evolution of sports talk television is it's live. If I mess up, you correct me. We've got interaction here. We've got guests in here. We've got phone calls. Is it a TV show? Is it a radio show? It's both. Join the 65,000 following we have here on Facebook. Of course, like and follow and share and stalk, whatever they do on Twitter, YouTube, and of course, definitely check out the Twitch channel with Chris Landry Football, LandryFootball.com, part of the Landry Football Network. There you go. There's a quiz after. All right. So thank you very much. I'm here, says Tampa Prep. Is Shaq Barrett a system player? Was his last season a one-off or his ceiling? I'm going to ask you, is he a system player? By the way, is it a bad thing to be a system player? Because he works in the system perfectly, so you want to keep that player in the system. Do you think he's a flash in the pan, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy?
Absolutely not. I mean, he was showing some of these flashes at Denver before he even got away from there. For Denver, it was a numbers game, having Ware and then having your Von Miller. But the thing about it is he a system player? Yeah, I mean, he's a linebacker who plays good, has great rushing ability, so he gets into that gray area of defensive lineman in a 3-4 system. Would he be in a 4-3? I think this guy could play linebacker. I don't know about his downfield tackling and all. I know his backside pursuit's off the charts. But yeah, of course he's a system, only because we're running that 3-4 defense. So yeah, definitely.
Definitely. All right. Let's see here. Good stuff, Tristan. I'm ready. All right. Good stuff. Jerome says, for a long time after the Super Bowl, I felt Tampa Bay was where careers die. With that being said, since Arians, I believe we have the chance to be relevant for the next decade if we can continue to hit on draft and free agency. And that's what it comes down to, especially the draft. Because, look, you can't build a team in free agency. There are clubs that try to do that almost every year, and they win the offseason, but it doesn't necessarily work out. Why? Because there is so much risk in it. Just because a player has a career year doesn't mean he's going to go to a system and necessarily work out. Shaq bet on himself. He took a 1-year, $4 million contract, and now he's parlayed that into either a $15 or $17 million deal. Good for him. But there's also cases of, I don't know, Deshaun Jackson. How about that? Ruining your locker room. How about the tree humper himself, Chris Baker? I mean, you can go as far back Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. How about Alvin Harper for all those years, whether it's fair or not? He felt like he could be paid as a number 1 wide receiver. He wasn't. He was a number 2. We
tried to get Dexter Manley to come in here and provide a spark, but then they had to cut him off the team because he was sniffing up all the white lines on Dale Mabry Boulevard.
But he's right. I mean, that's where a lot of people go to die, and that's where you become a bad football team. You want to be a good football team, you have to draft, develop, and then if you have to sprinkle in some pieces there in free agency to make it work, then that's what you do, but you don't go through free agency. And the reason why I think a lot of bad teams go into free agency, and the Bucs have been guilty of this, is because you miss out on your first and second round draft picks and you draft a certain position. So then basically you have to put a Band-Aid on the situation, and it isn't even that good because you're overpaying for somebody who doesn't even have that great of production anyway, just has 1 year. So that's what I'm talking about. You can't.
It's funny, Pete, but talking about that last question, can you pull that question back up on the screen?
Sure.
Go. Okay, so when he talks about the relevancy for the next decade, we continue to hit on draft and free agency. It was a year ago, this month, right? I think it was July. You gave me the early Saturday morning call. We're talking. You say, hey, the Bucs just extended Jason Licht's contract. We want to go live. I'm like, well, yeah. So we did our live show. I was out at Mahuffers out on the beach. You brought it from the studio there. We did our live show, and we basically did a 2.5-hour show where we weren't getting completely run off the board, but we were making a case for Jason Licht. We were like, guys, look at the Mike Evans, look at the Vita Vea, look at the decisions he's starting to make. They're still improving. I'm not saying at the end of the day he's already became the greatest GM in the NFL, but I'm saying it's funny. Just a year ago, we were defending it, saying, okay, of course it was part of the Arians contract. Arians said if I come, he gets the extension to match my contract. But now we are a year later, and they are making better decisions and more consistently making those better decisions. So, like that question, that gentleman who's questioning, over the long term, we're starting to make a difference.
Yeah, you're starting to make a difference. And look, if you don't have Jason Licht, you don't have Bruce Arians. And if you don't have Bruce Arians this year, then you don't have Tom Brady
or Todd Bowles.
Right. I mean, you don't have players that want to come here. And I definitely think that Coach Arians, in his background, in past history, with him working with the Peyton Manning and working with the Ben Roethlisberger and Andrew Luck, these are some of the things that Tom Brady was thinking about in the back of his mind. Well, if Peyton Manning is checking off on this coach, then why wouldn't I? You look at all the moves that Jason Licht has made. Yeah, they missed some draft picks, but you look at some of the parts here. A Mike Evans, a Chris Godwin, going after a JPP and a trade. Yes, he missed out on a Noah Spence. Yes, he missed out on a Vernon Hargraves and other players. But at the end of the day, this team is a lot more talented now with Jason Licht than it was when he came here. Do we all agree with that?
Yeah, but let me ask you a question right now, and I want to see if, you guys see the phone number right there? Use the phone number. Peter will give it to you again.
Yeah,
I think sometimes
255-0391. It's my home number. It's my personal number. 255-0391. Go ahead.
It does get cut off on the 2-shot a little bit, but I wanted to pose this question. Anybody out there, you go. Anybody out there, call in the show. Let me ask you, because I'm asking you right now, Peter, your opinion right now. Where we are as an offense, where the defense is coming and going, hypothetically as heck, I'm knocking on wood. Bruce Arians tomorrow says, you know what, this COVID-19 is too hot. I'm going to go into an administrative role, or I'm going to stay at the Forever House in Georgia. For me, it's Todd Bowles. But for you, is it Byron Leftwich or Todd Bowles that gets the nod for the head coach if that happens tomorrow?
Oh, it's Todd Bowles. It's definitely Todd Bowles because he has the experience, and you let Byron Leftwich run the offense, and then you hope that basically Leftwich and Brady can come together on this offense, because again, there were questionable calls last year with Leftwich on 3rd and 4th down, and now he's going to get into the second year. But does the offensive system change? Does it change to more predominantly what Brady's going to run? I mean, how does that work out? I definitely think Bruce Arians not being a part of this. I don't want to think that at all.
No, and but hypothetically, or not hypothetically, but ironically enough, is there another quarterback in the league that
could be his own coach on the field, much like Peyton Manning?
Jameis Winston was his own offensive coordinator in high school, but we saw how that worked out for the Bucs. I'm kidding.
Well, kind of different. I mean, look, Tom Brady's been in the league for 20 years. I definitely think he can run this type of offense, and he'll be able to audible out and have some autonomy on the way
autonomy. There's a Leo word.
Leo word. There you go.
Hey, have we talked about the fact tonight? I've been watching the show, but I missed a few minutes. Did we talk about the fact that Jameis fired his agent, Joe Siegel, today?
We didn't talk about that, but there was, yes, Joe Siegel has been fired. Of course, Jameis Winston settled for the $1.1 million deal with the Saints as a backup, and he only got $148,000 guaranteed. You look at Cam Newton's type of money, you look at other quarterbacks in the league, there was also some reports out there that Siegel told him to stand pat. I'm not going to get into all that. I don't know what
it's a deep well, but wouldn't it be great if we found out now at this late date that Pittsburgh had made him a better offer? He went to New Orleans.
I believe that.
That's really for you, Nick.
Nick Citro, to me, definitely breaks some stories, and he knows what he's talking about. We don't just throw stuff against the wall here at Bucs Report. So I absolutely believe Citro and his source. And look, you get it. I get it with all the turnover situation, but still, he threw for over 30 touchdowns, and he still threw for 5,000. He has potential. He's still young, so it's not like he's a slouch. But as Chris Landry goes back and says a couple of weeks ago, the reason why a lot of teams steered clear of him is because of the turnover situation. Coaches are driven crazy. And you could see with some of Bruce Arians' comments with him defending Jameis at the beginning, and now afterwards, those last 2 weeks, it really seemed like Arians was ready to move on. And look, the Bucs as a team, they had a plan. They started to think about this mid-season. They really felt like it was a possibility to get a Tom Brady. You kind of think, with everything that's going on with COVID-19 and with them taking a chance and getting a Tom Brady, did they have this in the back of their mind that they actually might not have a season?
I don't know, but I'll tell you, I mean, we've thought about that, and I've just with Brady, I'm not trying to make this excuse because we've heard him say it, but the way he takes care of himself and the plyometrics and the way he stays conditioned, he really is 35 going on 43 in August. I mean, I'm just saying that straight out. And he's only had that one big, the loss with the injury with the knee in 2009 or was it 12? But other than that, the dude's just a baller. So what if we year off? I mean, it levels the playing field for everybody else because we know Tom Brady's been over at Berkeley Prep getting these boys ready and we're ready to hit the ground running. But I don't think I think that the contract continues on for 21 and 22, and unless he drops the mic and walks out after he wins the Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, look, if he drops the mic and wins a Super Bowl in your own house, then I could definitely see Bruce Arians walking away with him. But let's not talk about anybody walking away until they get the job done. Let's go back out to the webheads here. He was on the Super Bowl team, no, but he is a 3-4 defensive guy. Shaq is an outside linebacker. He stands up more than anything, though. Where is the stunning kid at? I don't know who that is. 40% off with the code. Check the page story for details. Manning had Wayne, Harrison, Sanders, and Welker. He definitely had some great weapons. Thomas and so forth. Manning had some good wide receivers. Dylan says, Peter Ray, who is your favorite current NFL player who does not play for the Bucs? I'll go with you first because I can't really think of
wow. So the player that I get up early in the morning to watch play right now would probably, and you know what? It just goes with the course. Probably Patrick Mahomes. Just his no-look passes, the way he flings the biscuit, what he's been able to do. Yeah, probably. He's definitely. I think he's the one that if he's playing and the Bucs aren't on, I'm probably turning that game on.
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely appreciate Patrick Mahomes. I like Lamar Jackson. I'm Deshaun Watson, big time fan of him. I like where he's came from with being with Clemson and being Alabama and having this chip on his shoulder. I just feel like I wish he was with a better team than Houston because I'm not sure if he's ever going to get it done. And it may be just a case of where people start calling him a bust or say, well, he's one of those other quarterbacks that just can't get it done. I just think it's so unfair. So I don't know. We put a gun to my head. I think all those quarterbacks are pretty much prime time television.
Well, and a name that it's not on the radar, but the one that's close to me because I'm intrigued by is little Kyler Murray, and that's because he's 3'2", but he has such a strong arm and he has such a good throwing style, and he shows good pocket presence. If Arizona now with the receiver, I can't even think of his name off the top of my head, but right, if they continue putting it together and doing what they're doing, then Kyler Murray quickly moves up to the top of my list because I just like watching him. Say, he can pull it down and run at any moment, and the guy's as fast as lightning.
Yeah, fast as lightning, definitely. And I tell you right now, the other guy I like watching in that division, that same division, is Russell Wilson. And I've always liked Russell Wilson ever since he came out. There's been doubts about him. He got beat out by Mike Glennon, Napoleon Dynamite himself at North Carolina State, transferred to Wisconsin. He has always been an intriguing figure to me, being a third-round pick and being able to start his first year with the Seahawks and really make them put them on the map and then receive that big-time contract. So I like Russ. I think he is tremendous.
Oh, and with Metcalf, too. It's going to be so awesome to watch him play.
A good player on the field, but he seems like a good person off the field. And I kind of like
Yeah.
And I don't want to see Antonio Brown, Mr. Big Chest, get into that locker room because I feel like he would affect that in some way. I don't know. All right. Let's see. Gronk won't be here next year, says Chris. Gronk is up next year, too. Smith guaranteed money is up. There will be lots of space, but lots to re-sign. Can we discuss why Chris Godwin is so underrated? Absolutely, we can. And that's from Rice King. We kind of talked about this tonight. Who would you take, Mike Evans or Chris Godwin? And do you feel like Chris Godwin is underrated?
I liked what the point Al made. I was listening to that conversation, and the point Al made with Mike Evans making the big play, but then Godwin showing he can take it to the house. If it's 3rd and 12 and I need that 12 yards and I know I'm going to throw a jump ball or a back shoulder, it's Mike Evans all day long. But Chris Godwin, man, he showed last year with that over the middle reception for 75 yards. When that was at New Orleans? No,
Atlanta,
right? So it was on that fast turf. It's a great question, but we're going to have to decide next year because I don't see going into 2021 carrying 2 receivers at $20 million apiece.
Is Chris Godwin a little bit underrated? Yes, because he's only done it 1 year. So people are kind of trying to look at it and say, can he do it another year? Was he a flash in the pan? You also have Mike Evans on the other side, but both of these wide receivers, make no mistake about it, Rice, are in the top 5. And that's why you have to get so excited if you are a Bucs fan, because these clearly could be the best wide receivers in Tom Brady's career.
Wow.
Career.
I've seen a lot.
Right. Yeah. So, there is some people out there that really don't know about Chris Godwin. But let me tell you something. If CG14 is not CG12 anymore, because, of course, that's Tom Brady. CG14 does what he did last year or gets better, in the time money as a wide receiver at this juncture. So good stuff there, Rice. Chris says, couldn't you do a deal where he makes tag money this year and next year and big money in 2020? I mean, I guess anything's possible with Mike Greenberg over there and Jason Light. I'm not a math guy. I'm not a cap guy. They definitely know what they're doing over there, so I'll let them do it. But there is some concern about Chris Godwin's contract coming up next year. Levante David, Donovan Smith and his guaranteed money. What do they do there? Gronkowski being up. I mean, they put in all their chips at the center of the table to win a Super Bowl either this year or next year. So it's got to work the next 2 years. So I would just tell fans, look, don't worry. Have faith in this organization that they know what they're doing because, of course, they're paid for it. And they'll get the guys that they need to get done. And they may have some losses, but that's why you have to draft, and that's why it's so important.
There's going to be such exciting football, hopefully this year. Yes, this year, but that's putting this packet, and it is such a smart thing because we do have that cap space open, and they have a lot of ways that. But then also, 2 years from now, you can look back and say that there was a lot of ways they could screw it up. But with the decisions Jason Light's been making over long haul here, I don't see that happening.
I mean, he's been aces. I mean, this Bucs organization has been aces, and anything that you could say that they were supposed to do, whether it was Tom Brady, Gronkowski, re-signing Shaq, re-signing
JPP getting that little 2-year, pumping them.
Going into the draft, getting an offensive lineman who they haven't drafted in a while, drafting a safety, drafting a running back. I mean, everything that you could possibly want as a fan, I think the Bucs have fulfilled this year, and that's why the excitement should be there. The expectations are going to be, and fans, don't be scared of those expectations. Don't be scared of the national spotlight. This team is ready to step up. You heard from Coach Arians. He's ready to step up. He'll have his team ready to play, COVID or not, hopefully. All right. I'm just being optimistic here. For Shaq, Tristan says Big Ben is a shoe-in for comeback player of the year. Definitely. They're an underrated team. Everybody's talking about Baltimore, but they definitely have the weapons there. Actually, Bengals gave him a contract but rescinded it because of a shoulder injury, so Shaq signed with the Bucs. And why did the Bucs not sign Michael Bennett in the first place? Because of a shoulder injury. Mark Dominic. And he went on to be a highly productive player for the Seattle Seahawks and win a Super Bowl. Just saying. All right, you could backload it there. Maybe cheap quarterback if they draft one after Brady retires, but that is a bit risky. Tristan says, Darth Malik is too close for a coincidence unless he forced it. Laugh out loud. I'm liking Tristan and Chris tonight. You know, I didn't like them at the beginning of the last week. Maybe it was just the whole doing the 5 days a week, but I like these guys tonight. They're bringing it. Shaq has to understand with the NFL as that league wide, it's not like another team will sign him for $20 million with a lower salary cap. They may. I wouldn't take the chance. I'll tell you right now, Jadeveon Clowney out there is looking for big time money, but people have questions about his health and his production going forward. But he's still looking for that $18 to $20 million contract. Now, will he get it? Possibly, most likely from Tennessee. The risk with the locker room fit, look at all the drama with Brent Grimes in his last year here. I have to say Bowles, but I think you could go either. Bowles gets the nod because of the experience. Do you like Tom Brady? What's not to like? He's the greatest of all time. Do you like Tom Brady? That's the question. And ironic that Aaron Rodgers' contract is up in 2 years. Perfect to pick up where Brady leaves off. Could you see the Bucs doing that because they have such a difficult time in developing a young quarterback going that veteran route? They've done that in the past. I mean, that's their MO. You go with Jeff Garcia, you go with Brad Johnson. I mean, they've had their fair share and they've had success with it.
I'm glad you mentioned Brad Johnson because Johnny Dean, the professor, and I were talking about that today. And even in my own head, I think I underrated him a little bit. And I'm going to circle back on that in the next few weeks. I'm going to write a nice feature article, or a nice article on Brad Johnson, his career, and what he meant to the Buccaneers. But you know, if the Buccaneers if the team has all these weapons on offense and the offensive line continues, starts to gel, and we have this banging defense, then we should have veterans knocking on our door that don't yet have a ring on that finger and want one. I'm not saying they'll come here for a veteran minimum by any stretch of the imagination, but you could be creative and get veterans to come in here. Let's just do it with Tom Brady and the boys first, and then we'll let that take care of itself.
Absolutely. Somebody says, do you like Christian McCaffrey? Well, I'd like to see him shut down by the Bucs defense last year, but he's a very talented player, and he got paid as such. Of course, he's in this division versus the Bucs. I never thought McCaffrey was going to be that good. He has absolutely shocked me. Of course, the son of Easy Ed McCaffrey of the Denver Broncos and the New York Giants. So final thoughts, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. It's always good to have you here on the Sports Web, my co-host tonight.
Brother, it's been great checking in with you tonight. I just wanted to go ahead and close it off again. I just want to circle back to that article that I had written about Ryan Jensen. Again, it was it wasn't a question of he was with, and again, I stated and I'm going to state it again. There was no laws broken here. There are different rules. States have different rules with the number of people that it can assemble. I hate to say, I hate people that do things just to do it. You've got to believe in it. It was bad optics, though. The guys all circling in there and screaming. We weren't frying him on the pan. I still point out that if I go into battle, he's one of the first guys I take with me, because whenever we see a hit or an egregious play from another team, he's one of the, if the offense is on the field, and then even if it's the defense, but it's by the sideline, he's one of the first players that's going to get in there. I'd follow him in the battle every day. It was just a bad look. It's over now. But let's keep everything. Let's keep it all in check, everybody. We all wear the masks. We all social distance, and we're all doing it because and someone said earlier, that there was a comment, and I know I'm wrapping it up long here, but the comment was, you think sports is more important than life? Not at all. And then you made that point, Peter. But I think one of the great things that come out of having sports is that the sports have the billions of dollars, and they have the best medical advice, and they are we're going to be able to learn from them and apply the things they're learning in our social till we get a vaccine that we can possibly continue to battle the COVID-19 virus. So having the Buccaneers play, that's just the icing on the cake. But wrapping it back to Ryan Jensen, water under the bridge, everything's fine, and let's just continue we'll see what happens with Donovan and everything. Look for me on Sundays on Cup of Ray at 10 a.m., and thank you for having me on tonight, brother.
Absolutely. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, where can they follow you on Twitter?
I don't know my own Twitter account. It's Pewter Power. See, what it is it's Pewter Power 02, but I wanted Pewter, and the day I signed up in Twitter 100 years ago, I typed in PEWTER. That was already taken. So I did the PUTRPOWR 02. Everybody thinks it's putter. I do golf, but I'm not a very good golfer. The U is long. But follow me on Facebook, because I do a lot of my communicating there. And then just this last Sunday, Peter, thanks to all you helping me with my setup, I was able to stream the show also on YouTube and also over on Twitter. And I can't look forward to being able to maybe get on Twitch at some point too, because we're part of the Landry Football Network. So just look for me on Facebook and look for Cup of Ray on Sunday mornings, 10 o'clock. And I'll be in Carolina this Sunday, so I can get in my MiFi, and I'm going to bring a show from the mountains and figure out a way to tie it back to the Buccaneers from there.
And I feel like it's this Sunday morning on CBS. I don't know if anybody watched that, but it's our own Charles Corrolt right here on the Sports Web on Cup of Ray. Thanks a lot for joining me here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. All right, my friend?
Love you, brother. Talk to you soon.
All right, good stuff there. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay. Let's go out to the webhead here. Been watching a lot of Devin White film, and oh my goodness, if he stays healthy, he is special. I definitely think he is a breakout star waiting to happen in 2020. Thanks to the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck, 40 years of sports broadcasting experience, WTSP, Channel 10, WFTS, Channel 28, Brent Allen of the Pewtercast, of course, Joshua Cole Allen, one of our newest writers here on Bucs Report, and Mr. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay. Once again, join us tomorrow night. We'll be here at 10 o'clock for the Sports Web. We'll have the Al Keck Show at 9 o'clock. We'll be on after that, and we'll take your NFL calls and, of course, your Tampa Bay Buccaneer calls. And join the 65,000 following we have here on Facebook. Go like and follow on YouTube and Twitter. And, of course, get on that Twitch channel, the Chris Landry Football Network, part of LandryFootball.com. So thanks a lot for tuning in to all you webheads out there. And don't worry, we'll get through this together. But do 3 things for me on this early Tuesday morning. You ready? Write them down. Here we go. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Have a great night. You're now in the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense.
Come to Sam Ash for hundreds of exclusive holiday deals on music and sound gear from the most iconic brands. Save big on professional and starter guitars, drums, digital pianos, horns, violins, DJ, and electronic production equipment. Supercharge your home studio with deals on podcasting, streaming, and AV equipment like speakers, microphones, headphones, and acoustic treatment. Plus, with 36 months no interest financing on thousands of items, you can get the gear of your dreams right now. From our incredible selection and service to our lowest price guarantee for over 95 years, real musicians know you only go to Sam Ash.
Bruce Arians here with your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. During these difficult times, it's important that we all show we care about our community's health. You could spread COVID-19 without knowing it. Wear a mask, wash your hands, keep your distance from each other, stay strong, and go Bucs.
Realizing my potential has been what my career has been all about. Things that I've dreamed about have actually come true.
And the Patriots have won Super Bowl 36. Unbelievable.
Things have happened in my life as I kind of hoped they would happen. It's been, just a complete evolution. You know, how I just kept kind of fighting and clawing to continue to power forward. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you keep trying to make progress. So when I look at over 20 years, I look how far I've come. But there's not one step that I took where I realized, look how far I've come. But those series of steps that I put together, I go, wow, that's quite a journey.